Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the fourth episode of the story, where Naruto is raised by Jiraya and Tsunade. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. Nine years after the Kyuubi attack, fortunately for Konoha and its inhabitants, the damage caused by the Uchiha coup d'état wasn't as severe as the one caused by the Kyuubi, both in terms of human deaths and property destruction. In a few weeks, Konoha was functioning like normal, even if its forces were considerably weaker. Still, Jiraiya made an effort to make the village look strong and did not stop or even slow down the flow of missions. One of Konoha's institutions that was also back to normal was the academy. It was the beginning or a new school year, and Jiraya's educational reforms were starting to take effect. Namely, the fact that quite a few students, especially those born from civilian families, found the new academy way too hard and moved to civilian schools. Still, there were at least 3 new faces to replace some of the dropouts. Welcome back once again to the academy, kids. At least, those who passed last year's exam. Before we begin, we have 3 new students that moved recently to Konoha. Why don't you introduce yourselves? The first one to take a step forward was a girl with shoulder-length red hair, red eyes, and glasses. Hello. My name is Karen Uzumaki. I haven't been much time in Konoha, but I like this place so far, and wish to be a ninja, Karen said. Hey, I'm an Uzumaki too. Naruto exclaimed, waving his hand at her. Where have you been all this time? Naruto, please don't interrupt. Irika sternly chided. You can talk with Karen later if you wish. Now, who wants to go next? This time, a girl with long, brown hair took a step forward. Hi everybody, my name is Tamaki. I used to live with my grandma on an abandoned city, but she thought it would be good for me to move here. I obviously want to be a ninja and, well, I love cats. Tamaki heard a dismissive snort in response. She didn't know where it came from, but many people realized it was Kiba, who looked at the girl with contempt. Without waiting for Irika to tell him anything, the last newcomer introduced himself. Hello. My name is Haku Yuki. I come from the land of water. People like me aren't well liked there, so I'm staying in Konoha until things get better. Yugao and Hayate had told him not to mention his relationship with Zabuza to people who didn't know about it already, at least for the time being. You look like nice people, and I'm eager to meet all of you. Shino raised his hand. Yes, Shino? Irika asked. I wish to ask Haku-san something, if it's okay with that. Of course, I'm sure that Haku will be glad to answer any question you might have about him. Still, Irika looked at Haku for his approval. The kid silently nodded. Him, repeated many voices in disbelief. My question does not pertain his gender, Shino clarified, before adjusting his shades. You said that, people like you aren't welcome in the land of water. Does that mean that you have a bloodline limit? Yes. I possess the ice release bloodline, Haku replied in a neutral tone, used to mask his inner worry. But you don't have to worry. Here in Konoha nobody will hate you for having such abilities, Irika reassured the girl-looking boy. Now that you have introduced yourselves, go and take a seat. Tamaki sat on an empty seat besides a bored Shikamaru. Haku took an empty seat in the first row. Karen was about to sit besides Naruto and Hinata, but something else caught her attention. Namely, Sasuke Uchiha's good looks. And fortunately for her, there was an empty spot besides him. Naruto's face dropped when Karen chose to sit with his rival instead of him, her family. Sasuke acknowledged Karen with a sigh. The redhead then noticed that another girl sat at Sasuke's other side, one with long pink hair, was glaring daggers at her. Maybe you should try sitting somewhere else, Karen, a voice said from the upper tables. Karen turned around and saw a blonde girl looking at her. While I can see what spurned you to sit beside Sasuke, you must know that he comes from a clan of traitors and murderers. It can't be safe being near him. I'm sure you'll be better with Naruto. He's your family after all. Sasuke didn't seem to react to the blonde's hurtful words, but the pinkette besides him surely did. Can it Ino? Sasuke had nothing to do with the coup d'état and you know it. Stop being such an idiot to him already. You weren't the only one who lost somebody that day. And you should stop defending him, Sakura. Oh, yeah, Sasuke lost his clan, boo-hoo-hoo. Maybe they should have thought that before trying to take over Konoha. Enough you two. Iruka bellowed, silencing the feuding girls. I'm not going to tolerate that kind of talk, okay? Yes, the Uchiha coup d'état was a dark day in this village's history, but harboring resentment won't be of any help. Haku was starting to understand why he was told to keep his ties with Zabuza a secret. Tamaki, however, wasn't deterred by Ino's words. Her family had always been a staunch ally of the Uchiha clan, and he would show his support to Sasuke. His good looks didn't hurt either. Alright, now that we calmed down, let's start. Open your tools of the ninja books on page 3-inch. Jiraya was working tirelessly in his office as usual. Even with the aid of a couple shadow clones, it seemed that the paperwork would never end. He really missed the amount of free time he used to have back then, which he spent either training Naruto, Hokage and Kaida, or spending quality time with his wife. Now those moments were far scarcer. Letting out a frustrated sigh, he decided that a break was in order, though the clones continued working. He opened a drawer, and pulled out the as of yet unfinished draft of his next Ica volume. Progress had been slow, so he better hurry up and finish this one. He'd hate to make his loyal fans restless. However, there was something in the drawer that caught the Hokage's attention, his very first novel. He grabbed it, and remembered he had with his godson some months ago. Flashback. Somebody knocked the door of Jiraya's office. Come in. Jiraya shouted. He was relieved to have a little break from the endless mountain of paperwork. Much to his surprise, his godson entered the office. Jiraya's smile grew even wider. Naruto. Great to see you here. Did you come to see your old man at his new job? Naruto smiled back. More or less. Well, that, and that I have a few questions that I think only you can answer. Jiraya leaned back on his chair, and crossed his fingers above his lap. Well, that's what I'm here for. What kind of trouble do you have? Is something wrong with the academy? With your mother? It is a girl you like? Of course it's a girl. It's none of that. Naruto cut him off before he could come up with more ridiculous scenarios. He fished something from one of his pockets, and handed it to Jiraya. The surprised Sannin saw that it wasn't just his very first book, but the one he gave Minato as a gift. Jiraya's expression darkened. Naruto, where did you find this? In the underground shelter, inside a box, Naruto replied. That book was so good. So much better than the stuff you write nowadays. Why didn't you tell me about it before? And why don't you write more books like this one? I see. To answer your questions, you could say that I forgot about it. Jiraya sighed heavily. First, there's the fact that the book hardly sold. You and your father were the only people who gave me any kind of positive feedback. People who disliked your books were morons, Naruto bluntly stated. And second, this book reminded me of your father too much, and the life he will never have, thanks to the Kyuubi and that masked bastard that nearly killed Tsunade. I thought that I was over it, but after all these years, the pain still persists. I see. Sorry for bringing up then, Naruto said, averting his gaze. Jiraya forced himself to smile. Hey, it's okay. It's not that you knew about it. I would have done the same in your situation. By the way, what else did you saw in that box? Nothing too interesting. Except a bunch of old pictures, Naruto answered. But now I'm too afraid to ask. Don't be, Jiraya assured. What kind of pictures? Well, The ones in which you and Mom were younger and a couple of my birth parents, but then there was this one with you and 3 kids that I didn't recognize. Who were they? 3 kids? A ginger, a redhead, and a brunette? Jiraya asked. Naruto nodded. Those were a trio of orphans from Amigakure that I taught ninjutsu and survival skills for 2 years, back during the Second War. What happened with them? The last time I heard of them, they formed some sort of freedom fighting group, and were about to face the leader of Amigakure. I never knew anything about them after that. The poor bastards are probably buried 2 meters underground now. I see, no wonder you wanted to forget about the contents of that box. Yeah, that box is kinda like a compilation of all my failures, isn't it? Jiraiya said, almost chuckling. That's me, the master that ends up surviving his students. But hey, if it's of any consolation, you know that such thing won't happen with me. Naruto boldly declared. Besides, you did plenty of good things too. I mean, you're Hokage. How many people can say that? Jiraiya couldn't help but smile at his godson's unwavering optimism. Yeah, Jiraiya's life didn't turn out so bad, did it? He married the girl of his dreams, had other 2 kids besides Naruto, both of them who had rare bloodline limits, despite neither him nor Tsunade possessing any, and even if it was something that he didn't want, he was the leader of Konoha. You know what, Naruto? I think you have a point, the Sannin conceded. He then looked at the book. And I think that maybe this book deserves a second chance. End flashback. Jiraiya was snapped of his thoughts when somebody knocked the door. After telling the stranger to come in, the door opened to reveal the person he was expecting to meet, Itachi Uchiha. You summoned me, Hokage-sama? Itachi asked. Jiraiya nodded, and motioned him to take a seat. First of all, I'm aware of how much you sacrificed for the village, and what I'm going to ask you may seem a bit too much, so don't be afraid of declining my proposal if you're not up to the task. With all due respect, Hokage-sama, but if that was the case, then I wouldn't become a ninja to begin with. Especially now that I'm a jonin, the Uchiha replied. Just tell me what you want, and it will be done. Your devotion to the village is admirable. Okay, here it goes. As you probably know, I used to be Sarutobi-sensei's main informant during his second tenure. During that time, I built a spy network across the elemental nations. However, due to my new responsibilities, I can't leave the village as often as I could in the past, so I need somebody whom I can trust to take care of this task. And you thought of me for it, Itachi guessed. The Hokage nodded. Alright, consider it done. Are you sure? Keep in mind that this job sometimes involves leaving the village for long periods of time. You won't be able to spend as much time with your little brother as in the past. Thanks for your concern, but I can assure you that it won't be a problem. Sasuke doesn't seem to be very eager to talk or even spend time with me. Maybe I should give him some space, and this job might be good for me as well. I see that you made up your mind. If that's the case, meet me tomorrow at 5 o'clock sharp so I can teach you about your new occupation. You're dismissed. Later, at lunchtime, Naruto and Hinata were sitting on a bench, enjoying their food and each other's company, while they looked others' kids playing, talking, or eating their lunches as well. Naruto's eyes were particularly fixed on Karen, and much to his displeasure, the redhead refused to abandon Sasuke's side. Man, this sucks. I find a lost clan member, and she has to spend the time with that idiot, Naruto groaned. I'm sure that Karen-san will be more than glad to meet you, Naruto-kun. Just wait for the right moment to introduce yourself, Hinata suggested. Man, what does that idiot have that all the girls all flock around him? Naruto complained. You know, it almost seemed that a hire being sent Karen to Konoha to fill Ino's vacant spot now that she doesn't fawn over Sasuke anymore, Naruto angrily said. Hinata couldn't help but giggle at Naruto's comment. Well, Sasuke-san, some girls like his looks, as well as his strength, Hinata explained. Man, I'm so glad that at least you don't go after him like the other girls, Naruto said, smiling at Hinata. I'd hate to lose you two to him. Hinata blushed a bit. Why, you don't have to worry about that, Naruto-kun. You're my friend, I will always be at your side. Speaking of friends, maybe we should befriend the new guys? Naruto suggested. I mean, not only they're new, but they aren't even from Konoha, so I doubt they have any friends here already. I don't see why not. The three of them look like nice people. Cool. Well, Karen-nichan is out of the question since he's with that idiot, so how about Tamaki? Naruto suggested as he scanned the playground with his eyes, trying to track her. I like cats too. Maybe I could use that to approach her? Hinata asked, both to herself and Naruto. Oh, there she is. Naruto finally located the cat Kunoiki and much to his dismay, she walked towards Sasuke. Oh come on. She too. Besides, Sasuke isn't even paying attention. And maybe we should approach the boy of the land of water? Hinata meekly suggested. He's sitting all alone in that bench. I swear if he was actually a girl, he would be trying to get Sasuke's attention too, Naruto muttered with a groan. Oh, I think you don't know this, but Haku's adoptive dad helped the Uchiha in the coup d'etat. Hinata was taken aback. He did? Yeah, and he's in prison now. Dad was planning to have him executed, but changed it to jail time with the condition of Haku becoming a Konoha ninja. 2C, Hinata said. For obvious reasons, the mere mention of the coup d'etat caused her great sorrow. On second thought, maybe we shouldn't talk to him, and no. Hinata quickly said. We shouldn't judge others based on actions they were not responsible of. Thanks to the caged bird seal the branch house Hyugas were forced to carry, Hinata knew very well what it feels to be personally accused of something people close to you did. She remembered the time when branch house members used to look at her with pure scorn, as well as muttering under their breath things Hinata couldn't hear, but could imagine. Fortunately, things got better over time as the branch house Hyugas got to know Hinata better. Once they finished their lunch, they approached Haku, who had just finishing eating as well, and was putting the remains of his bento inside his backpack. Hi, Haku. Naruto enthusiastically greeted. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. And this is my friend Hinata Hyuga. We'd like to know you better, if it's okay with you. Can we sit with you? The Hyuga asked. Haku smiled at the duo. Sure, I can use some company. The ice ninja moved aside so Naruto and Hinata could sit. And I think it will be good if I get to know some people here already. Great. Naruto sat down. Hinata did likewise. You said you have a bloodline limit, right? I also have a bloodline limit too, but it's different from yours, Hinata mentioned. Really? Interesting. Do you mind telling me more? My bloodline limit is called Byakugan. It allows me to see through solid objects, gives me 360 degrees vision, and I can see people's chakra pathway system. It sounds mostly interesting, Haku said, still smiling. Like I said before, my bloodline limit is ice release. I can combine wind chakra with water chakra to create ice. Look. Haku placed his hands as if he was grabbing an invisible ball. Focusing his chakra, he created a small snowball that floated in mid-air. Naruto and Hinata watched the display, eyes widen in fascination. Whoa, that was so cool. Naruto praised. You think so? Of course. Why would we lie? Hinata asked. Well, it's that if I did this in my country, some people would want to kill me. Is that how you lost your parents? Hinata asked, then she mentally chided herself for not realizing that she was dealing with a sensitive topic. Fortunately for her, Haku didn't seem to mind. Yes. Our neighbors assaulted our home shortly after I awoke my powers. Guess that somebody saw me. I lost my entire family that day, Haku explained, omitting the most horrifying details, namely, his father's role. And then you met Zabuza, Naruto stated matter-of-factly. Haku was taken aback by the blonde's statement. His normally relaxed expression tensed. How do you? My dad's the Hokage. There's little going on this village that I'm not aware of, Naruto proudly said. While being the Hokage's son gave him access to quite some privileged information, his statement was an exaggeration. I see. In that case, I must ask you two not to tell anybody about Zabuza-sama. I'm afraid that it may make my stay here tad more unpleasant. Don't worry. Your secret is safe with us. Right, Hinata? The blonde asked, and the brunette nodded in return. By the way, do you have a bloodline limit as well? Haku asked. What? Oh, no, I don't have that. But I'm a Jinchuriki, you know. Normally, that wasn't something he would be proud of, but Haku and Hinata talking about their bloodlines made him feel a bit left out, and wanted to show something that made him special, even if it was a curse. A Jinchuriki? Yeah, it's a dash, I know what a Jinchuriki is, Haku cut him before he could explain his condition. You do? Yes. The current Mizukage is one. Naruto was starry-eyed. Really? That's so cool. If he can be a Kage, then dash. It's not cool. Haku suddenly yelled. Naruto was taken aback. Hinata flinched. Why is not, Haku-kun? The Hyuga fearfully asked. He's the reason people like me are hated. He's ruining Kirigakure, and the whole country. That's why Zabuza-sama wanted to depose him. Haku angrily shouted. Then again, Haku wasn't aware, or was deliberately ignoring, Zabuza's own ambition of becoming Mizukage. Upon seeing Naruto and Hinata's faces, Haku quickly regained his composure. I am sorry for that outburst. You have nothing to do with my plight. Don't think that I hate all Jinchuriki because one ruined my life, Naruto-kun. It's okay. Naruto said, with one of trademark grins. Hey, guess what? When I become Hokage, I'll talk some sense into that Mizukage so it's safe for you to go back to your home. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I appreciate the gesture, Haku sighed. If it was only that easy, by the way, I'd like to know how strong you are. Want to spar against us? Naruto asked. That sounds nice, Naruto-kun. That way I can also measure how strong you two are. Later that day, once the academy was over, Naruto bid Hinata and Haku goodbye and headed home. While he usually was eager to return home and train with one of his parents or Shizun, in case both of them were particularly busy, it wasn't the case anymore. Jiraya had started to instruct him in Fuinjutsu, something Naruto found horribly tedious. Still, the Toad Sannin insisted, claiming that it was Naruto's cultural inheritance, whatever that meant, and the fact that it was an incredibly useful art that not many people bothered to master. Naruto could clearly see exactly why. While Naruto enjoyed the idea of being able to make his own explosive tags, among other things, Fuinjutsu training overall wasn't very stimulating. Hey, Naruto, a female voice snapped the Jinchuriki from his thoughts. Turning around, he smiled to see it was Karen, who was running towards him. The blonde smiled. Hey, Karen Nichan. Karen stopped when she close to Naruto, and gasped for air. Hey. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for ignoring you earlier. I got distracted. Yeah, it's quite common with Sasuke, Naruto said, grinning. So, you're an Uzumaki? Yup. On my mother's side. I see. My mother and I thought that we were the only Uzumakis left. We traveled a lot and never stayed on the same place for more than a month as long as I remember, and never once run into another Uzumaki. Funny thing, I also thought I was the only Uzumaki left. It's so great that we were both wrong. Indeed. The reason we came here was because of Tsunade, who my mother says has Uzumaki blood, and would protect us. She is my adoptive mother, you know. She took care of me alongside Dad, who is the current Hokage, when my birth parents died. I believe she did it because she was related to my birth mom in some way. It's a good thing then, Karen said, adjusting her glasses. Would you like to come to my house later today? I'm sure my mom would love to meet another family member. Yeah. And maybe another day you can come to my house and meet my family. They aren't Uzumakis except Mom, but I'm sure you'll like them. That sounds like fun. A few months later, Naruto's entire class wasn't at the academy, but on Training Ground 17, which had quite a lot of trees, and thus it was popular for drill skirmishes in the Land of Fire. Their newest sensei, a tall man clad in blue, whose eyes were covered by sunglasses similar to Shino, who wore a bandana-style headband, had brought them there for an exercise. Hello, children. My name is Ebisu, and during the following weeks I'll teach you some exercises that will refine your chakra control, the blue-clad man announced. Chakra control is something important for young, developing ninjas such as yourselves. If you lack control, you won't be able to perform ninjutsu. But enough talking, let's go with the exercise, Ebisu said, noting that most of the kids paid him now more attention. How many of you would be able to climb this tree? Ebisu asked, while motioning to a large tree behind him. Everybody raised their hands, just as expected. Time to drop the bomb. And how many of you would be able to climb it without using your arms? All who had their hands raised lowered them, and started to mutter among themselves in confusion. That's impossible, somebody said. Oh, it's very possible. Just look at me, Ebisu said, as he started to walk on the tree as if gravity had no effect on him. The kids looked at him in awe, much to the special Jonan's delight. In order to do this, you must gather chakra at the bottom of your feet. But be careful. Too much chakra, and you will be pushed away from the tree, too little you will fall off. Now, choose a tree to climb, and begin. The kids split into several groups, since the trees were wide enough for several people to climb them at the same time. Naruto stayed with Hinata and Haku, while Sakura, Karen and Tamaki chose the same tree as Sasuke. Alright, this is going to be piece of cake. Naruto exclaimed, as he started to climb the tree without much difficulty. This, naturally, drew some attention. Hey, how did you do it at your first try? An annoyed Kiba asked. Easy, I already did this exercise with Mom. And her methods were way more extreme. Flashback: after many attempts, Naruto managed to nail down the climbing exercise, not without effort. Look, Mom, I did it. Naruto proudly said. Huh? Much to the Jinchuriki's confusion, Tsunade was emptying a bottle on the base of tree. And then, the slug Sannin tossed a lit match, setting the base of the tree ablaze. What the hell? A very freaked out Naruto yelled. Climbing is easy enough with practice. Staying in the same place for a prolonged time, not so much, Tsunade calmly explained, ignoring the protests of his adoptive son. I want you to stay like that for 5 minutes. The fire is to make sure you're motivated enough not to fall. End flashback. In the end, she had to buy me a new pair of pants, Naruto recalled, rubbing his butt, still feeling some phantom pain. But on the bright side, my chakra control improved a lot. Even if his training with Zabuza was brief, it helped Haku to complete the exercise in no time. Hinata was the last one of their little group who managed to reach the top of the tree, after almost an hour of trying. Other people who managed to complete the exercise in record time were Shino, Sakura and Ino. Much to Naruto's amusement, Sasuke was having a lot of trouble with the exercise. He managed to climb very far on his first try, but he progressed at a rather slow pace. It was a delicious irony seeing the prodigy being outlasted by one of his fangirls. Kiba, Shikamaru, Karen, Choji and Tamaki weren't having an easy time either. After an hour and a half, Ebisu dismissed the class, congratulated those who completed the exercise, and gave some pointers and encouragement to those who didn't. Still, after a week, the whole class was able to master the tree climbing exercise. Hokage's office. Shortly after his educational reform, many people met Jiraiya to protest over how much he had raised the standards at the academy, increasing the number of students who failed to pass from one course to the next, and most times they were forced to drop out. Most of the time, it was furious parents, most of them civilians, who demanded him to return the academy to the way it was. Less frequently, it was an academy teacher who complained about either being overworked or the children failing to grasp their lessons. However, this was the first time a ninja, a jonin no less, requested an audience with the Hokage to discuss such topic. The man in question was tall and well-built, with extremely thick eyebrows and a ridiculous bowl haircut. He was wearing a green jumpsuit under a Chunin flak jacket and orange leg warmers. Despite his rather bizarre appearance, this man was one of Konoha's strongest jonins, and Konoha's greatest taijutsu specialist. Mato Guy. I don't believe we ever talked to each other after I got the position. Jiraiya eyed the Green Clan jonin. While Guy was known for his exuberant and obnoxiously optimist behavior, now he looked the complete opposite. What do I owe the visit? I believe you have a problem with my educational reform, though I fail to see why. You see, I met one of the academy students not long ago, Guy began. He was crying his eyes out, since his dream was to become a ninja, but now he sees that dream crumbling into dust. You see, for some reason, the kid is unable to do ninjutsu nor genjutsu. I believe you see where the problem lies. Jiraiya clasped his fingers. I believe I do. That kid's condition is mostly unfortunate, but maybe he isn't mean to become a ninja. There are plenty of ninjas who are forced to retire after suffering certain injuries. This case isn't that different. Listen, Hokage-sama, give that kid a chance. While my case wasn't the same, I also sucked at ninjutsu and genjutsu for a long time, that's why I focused on taijutsu. I believe that kid can follow my footsteps, and become a ninja with only taijutsu. That kid has a lot of potential. His flames of youth can burn brighter than mine. Jiraiya sighed. I understand your plight, Guy, I really do. But my stance on the academy is non-negotiable. I believe that ninjutsu is an important part of being a ninja. So unless that kid can develop a level of taijutsu impressive enough in order to dash, consider it done, Guy suddenly said. Jiraiya was left stunned for a few seconds. He blinked a couple times, before he could reply. What? He lamely replied. You were going to say that that kid needs a level of taijutsu impressive enough to make up for his deficiencies, right? Guy asked. Jiraiya just nodded. Then leave him to me. I will train him personally so his taijutsu reaches a level unheard on an academy student. Okay, you can take that kid under your wing, but please don't neglect your duties as a jonin when training that brat. Never. That would be mostly unyouthful. Thanks for being so understanding, Hokage-sama. I promise that you will not regret this decision. Guy loudly declared before he left. A few weeks later once again, Ebisu took Naruto's class out of the academy, this time to training ground 19, which had a rather large lake. He also told them to bring swimsuits, since they would need it for the next part of the exercise. Okay, all of you already completed the tree climbing exercise, and I hope that you kept practicing on your own. Now, I believe it's time to take it to the next level, Ebisu said, and without further ado, he started to walk on water. Once again, the kids stared in awe. Now, this exercise is a bit harder than tree climbing, due to the fact that a tree is solid, and water is liquid, which means that you'll need a constant stream of chakra from your feet to stay on the surface, as opposed to a fixed amount of chakra, Ebisu explained as he returned to the grass. The goal of the exercise is to walk 10 meters into the water, and get back to land. Come on, begin. Did you master this exercise already, Naruto-kun? Haku asked. Nope, I'm still trying. It's way harder than it sounds, Naruto moaned. Well, Ebisu-sensei made it sound as if it was rather hard to begin with, Hinata mentioned. It's still harder than it sounds. Fortunately, Mom can't set the water on fire, Naruto grinned, but his grin was soon replaced by a mask of contained terror. Yet, unlike the tree climbing exercise, nobody was able to master water walking on their first few tries. Those who managed to do the best usually sank after walking just a measly 2 or 3 meters, while those who were having the hardest time didn't manage to land a single step without sinking. Naruto and his classmates took another additional 2 weeks to master this exercise. But much to their surprise, the exercise didn't end there. Once they all could walk on water in an acceptable way, Ebisu revealed the next part of the training: taijutsu spars, while on the water. A ninja has to be prepared to fight anywhere. There will be times in which a battle will take place on a lake, on a river, or even at high sea. Besides, this will improve your chakra control even further, the blue-clad special Jonin enthusiastically explained as he adjusted his shades. So, who wants to go first? Naturally, Naruto and Sasuke were the first ones to volunteer. The two swimming trunks-clad ninja students placed in front of each other. Near them was Ebisu, who would oversee the fight. "Begin," the special Jonin said, made a chopping motion with his hand. "Prepare to get your ass kicked," Naruto shooed a taunting smile at Sasuke. The Uchiha merely grunted back. "Come on, Sasuke-kun." Sakura cheered from the lake's shore. "Kick his ass, Naruto," said Ino's voice, much to Naruto's bewilderment. Naruto immediately dashed at Sasuke, and launched a punch to his face. The Uchiha dodged the fist, and taking advantage of Naruto being wide open, punched him in the gut. The hit messed up Naruto's chakra control, and the sank into the water. He managed to be back on his feet a few minutes later. "As you can see, remaining on top of the surface while fighting entails some difficulty, but with enough practice it will become natural to you," Ebisu explained. Then he looked at Naruto. "Ready to continue?" "You can bet your glasses I am," Naruto replied, not taking his eyes from Sasuke. "If that's the case, let's continue." Naruto once again dashed at Sasuke, ready to punch him in the face. Sasuke was already moving to dodge the fist like he did the first time. But in the last second, rather than a punch, Naruto kicked Sasuke on the hips instead. This time, it was Sasuke who lost his balance and fell into the water. "Ha! How about that, idiot?" Naruto taunted at his fallen opponent. "Naruto, don't do that. This is a friendly spar between classmates, there's no necessity to be rude," Ebisu said in a chiding tone. Naruto frowned at him, but nodded nevertheless. The spars were usually short, sometimes in favor of Naruto, sometimes in Sasuke's favor. Though at one point Sasuke decided to get serious and activated his Sharingan. The following spars were all won by Sasuke. Seeing this, Ebisu decided to end the spar, and asked if somebody wanted to fight Sasuke instead. Only one person raised his hand. "I believe I can defeat Sasuke-san," Haku stated as he walked towards the Uchiha, while Naruto returned to land with the others. Haku studied his rival before Ebisu gave them the signal to start. The Uchiha's Sharingan remained activated. "Begin." Just like with Naruto, Haku dashed at Sasuke, ready to strike him. But just when he was about to punch him, Haku them leaped into mid-air, much to the Uchiha's surprise. Haku gracefully landed behind Sasuke, and attacked his legs with a quick low kick. Sasuke lost his balance, but his chakra control didn't falter him this time and didn't sink into the water. Jumping back on his feet, Sasuke tossed a series of punches and kicks at Haku, who moved back while dodging them. "Those eyes," Haku mentioned. "What about them? Never saw a Sharingan before?" Sasuke replied, mildly irritated. "I was talking about your eyes, not your bloodline limit," Haku explained. "Those eyes are the same eyes I used to have. The eyes of somebody who is angry at the world. Did something happen to you?" Of course, that question was mostly an act of politeness. Haku knew too well the fate of the Uchiha clan. "That's none of your business," Sasuke yelled as he hit Haku in the chest with a flying kick. Haku nearly lost his footing and sunk, but his chakra control remained strong. You can tell me, Haku insisted as he and Sasuke traded more punches. You know my background. I lost loved ones and have been betrayed by people I thought they loved me. It's because of what your clan did? I said shut up. Sasuke shouted as he hit Haku in the jaw. This time, the ice ninja was unable to stay in the surface and sunk in the water. Okay, I believe that was enough. Sasuke, Haku, go back to land, Ebisu said. Does anybody want to spar in the water? Me. Sakura said, raising her hand. I have the best chakra control here, so this shouldn't be hard. I'm glad for your eagerness, Sakura. Does anybody wants to fight her? Ebisu asked, looked at the rest of the students. Me, said a soft voice. Hinata was raising his hand. Alright, then come here. Stand in front of each other and begin. Both kunoichi took a fighting stance. Hinata activated his Byakugan. Sakura was the first one to attack. Just like Naruto with Sasuke, she tried to punch Hinata in the face, but the Hyuga bent backwards, avoiding the fist. Hinata then delivered a palm strike at Sakura's belly. While her chakra control was really good, Hinata's gentle fist momentarily disrupted her chakra, making her to sink in the water. Boy, that hurt. Sakura moaned, rubbing her belly. Sorry, Sakura-san, no, it's okay. I would be stupid to be mad at you for hitting me during a spar. And how did you bend you back like that? It's like you're made of rubber. The gentle fist requires a lot of body elasticity, Hinata explained. Well, now I know what not to do. Come on, let's continue. Upon getting a taste of the gentle fist, Sakura decided to be more careful and plan her strikes better. She adopted a more defensive stance, spurring Hinata to go into the offensive. Both girls spend quite some time fighting, Sakura letting Hinata attack, dodging or parrying her blows, and waiting for an opening in order to counterattack. Unfortunately, Hinata managed to hit her first with the gentle fist again before that could happen. The spar continued for another 5 minutes, in which Hinata landed another gentle fist strike at Sakura, making the pinkette to give up. Tamaki then volunteered to fight Hinata. As she returned to solid land, Sakura never felt so humiliated. She was hoping to impress the class with her skills, and more specifically, Sasuke, yet all she did was making a fool of herself. It was shocking how such a sweet, shy, and gentle girl like Hinata could pack such a mean punch. Anyway, that was just a minor setback. She was still the best kunoichi of her class, and nothing was going to change that. Or that's what she thought. Meanwhile, the rest of the class watched the two girls spar. At that moment, Naruto was approached by Shikamaru. Man, I can't understand how are you so eager to fight the Uchiha. He always end up beating you, Shikamaru mentioned. He didn't beat me that bad. At least until he activated his Sharingan. But without it, we're pretty much equal. Naruto protested, as if trying to prove something. I know. But I doubt he won't want to use that troublesome Sharingan again if he sees he's losing. And truth be told, I don't see you doing anything about it. Naruto looked at Shikamaru puzzled. He didn't understand what he mean by that. I don't think I'm following you. Sasuke defeated you because, after activating his Sharingan, you keep fighting him the same way as before. If you see something doesn't work, try something different instead. It's basic strategy, the lazy Nara explained. Naruto seemed to understand it now. Thanks for the advice. So you think you should be able to beat Sasuke then? Hell no. Even if I came up with a strategy to circumvent the Sharingan, I don't have the strength nor the skill to match him in pure taijutsu. Of course, there was the fact that Shikamaru's father killed Sasuke's mother, and Sasuke might feel like wanting revenge by proxy. But that was something Shikamaru preferred not to bring up. Don't listen to him, Naruto, Kiba said, walking towards them. He thinks strategy is the key to everything, but a big brain won't protect you from a fist to the face. Being strong and fast will. I would tell you why you're so wrong, but honestly, that would take too much effort for such little gain, Shikamaru lazily replied. Next time we spar, I will fight Sasuke instead of Naruto, and I will overwhelm him with my superior strength and speed, you'll see. Kiba boasted. If that was true, it would have happened already, yet you can barely touch Sasuke, Shikamaru deadpanned. That's the past. My mom have been training me way harder now. And once I get my dog, Sasuke won't stand a chance. Shikamaru merely rolled his eyes at Kiba's boasting. Konoha Hospital. After a long stay at the hospital, Hiruzen Sarutobi was finally declared to be in good enough state to be released. Still, that didn't mean his recovery was complete. Far from it. In fact, the doctors pretty much forced him to use a wheelchair for some time, since they told him his body was in a frail state and couldn't afford to make any unnecessary efforts in order to speed his recovery. Ah, it's a good thing to finally get out of that hellish place. Hiruzen said to his present companion. If I knew hospital food was so bad, I had done something about it long time ago. I need to talk with Jiraya about it. His companion chuckled. Unfortunately, I believe my husband has more pressing matters to attend right now. Not that I don't agree, the weeks I've spent there weren't pleasant to me either. I need to tell Shizen more often how much I appreciate her cooking, Tsunade mentioned, as he pushed Hiruzen's wheelchair. Were you upset that you couldn't apply to become Hokage? What? Hell no. People may think that being Hokage is glamorous, but I know that the Kages are merely glorified bureaucrats. If Naruto knew what he was getting into, I doubt he'll want to be Hokage, Tsunade replied in disgust. Come on, it's not so bad, Hiruzen protested. You know, I'm starting to think that you wanted one of us to replace you the moment Jiraiya and I returned to the village. I won't deny that the thought crossed my mind. But I know for a fact that you would have rejected my offer, plus Naruto needed you way more than the village, and you'll be overwhelmed. I thought that, maybe once Naruto graduated and became a ninja, I could retire and leave the hat to one of you. Sadly, things never turned out as planned. I'm afraid of what will happen if Naruto becomes a ninja. He will eventually leave the village to do missions, and will only have his teammates and sensei to protect him. And what is your plan? Keep Naruto inside that underground bunker of yours forever. First, don't mock the bunker, it became quite handy to protect Naruto and the twins when that one-eyed maniac attacked. And second, even if I know I can't protect Naruto forever, I can't help but worry about him. Understandable. It was inevitable that, after all these years of being his legal guardian, you ended up growing fond of the kid. Mother. I didn't spend so much time changing diapers, cleaning vomits, and being unable to sleep at night to be considered his legal guardian, thank you. That's a good thing, indeed, Hiruzen said, smiling. So, you say that your attacker claims to be the man behind the Kyuubi attack, right? Correct. That man had both the Sharingan and the wood release. Plus his teleporting ability would explain how he managed to avoid all the security measures and barriers you set while Kushina gave birth. To think that that man could just teleport one day and whisk Naruto away, he won't do that, Hiruzen stated. How can you be so sure? Easy. Both times he tried to get the Kyuubi, both times had to wait for the right moment. The first one was Kushina's birth, the second the Uchiha insurrection. He can't just teleport in the middle of Konoha in broad daylight. Besides, he should know where Naruto should be first, and I'm sure that his spies, should he have some, don't reach that far. Let's hope you're right. Still, I'm not letting my guard down. I never said you should. While they walked, or better said, Tsunade walked while she pushed Sarutobi's wheelchair, many townspeople and ninjas stopped to congratulate Sarutobi on his recovery, as well as wishing him a good time now that he was retired. This made the ex-Hokage realize that, with all the time he spent locked up in that office, he hardly had any time to enjoy the village he protected. Still, he wouldn't stop protecting it nevertheless. By the way, what are you going to do now that you're retired, sensei? Tsunade asked. I don't know, honestly. Though I thought that maybe I could help Jiraya a bit and become his advisor. I'm sure he can use your wisdom. And with you helping him, his workload will be Tsunade interrupted herself when she realized something, and frowned. You're going to help him so he can have more time to write those perverted books, right? Hiruzen smiled at her innocently. Tsunade, do you have any idea how long I have been a widower? As long as Naruto is alive. I may be old, but even men my age have certain needs. Tsunade grimaced in disgust. Thanks for the mental image, sensei. Sarutobi merely chuckled in return. 2 years had passed since Jiraiya had implemented his educative reform in the Ninja Academy, rising the standards significantly. Many students weren't able to keep with the new standards for long, so they dropped out and moved to civilian schools. As a result, Naruto's class was reduced to merely 12 students: Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, Sasuke, Ino, Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, Shino, Tamaki, Haku and Karen. Of these 12, Sakura was the only one not being born to a ninja family. Technically speaking, Tamaki didn't have a human ninja family either, but she had the benefit of being trained by ninja cats, but this didn't deter her. After all, she was the best kunoichi of her class. That didn't last long. In fact, these 2 years were horrible for the Pinkette. As the classes moved less from theory, a field in which Sakura excelled thanks to her book smarts, to a more practical approach, Sakura's grades started to fall. While she was pretty good at chakra control and the few classes that still required to study books, on everything else she was a total mess. While she was moderately good at kunai and shuriken toss, she found that it was much harder to it with moving targets, and/or when she had to move. While she mastered the 3 E-rank jutsus with little difficulty, D-ranks gave her a harder time. And obstacle courses were simply a nightmare. But the worst part was taijutsu spars. Just like Naruto marked Sasuke as his rival, Sakura did the same with Hinata. But while Naruto was slowly closing the gap with the Uchiha, each time the Pinkette and the Blueonette clashed, Hinata took each time less effort to defeat Sakura. After admitting that Hinata was too strong for her to beat, Sakura lowered her standards and aimed to defeat her former friend-turned-rival, Ino. But the results were the same. Even if Ino wasn't as skilled or strong as Hinata, Ino still ended up kicking her ass. It didn't help that unlike Hinata, who actually showed some restraint, Ino took sadistic glee in beating Sakura. Given that Tamaki was aiming to become a close-quarters fighter, she didn't even attempt to fight her either. So far, the only other kunoichi that she managed to beat from time to time was Karen. And even then her victories were short-lived, as Karen also managed to surpass her over time. Ino even replaced her usual forehead girl nickname for the pink punching bag. And her parents suggested her that maybe she wasn't cut to become a kunoichi, and think in other possible career paths. But she could ignore Ino's taunts and her parents' discouragement. What she couldn't ignore, however, was the way Sasuke looked at her whenever she lost. That look full of disdain, barely acknowledging her. She couldn't stand that. Sakura always excelled without even trying, so the idea of training outside the academy was foreign to her. Still, she decided that if she wanted to catch up with her classmates, she needed to improve, and fast. Unfortunately, her additional training and study hours were very little help. And one day, after another painful and humiliating taijutsu spar, Sakura couldn't take it anymore. She ran away from the academy, crying, not even caring that the bell didn't ring or the fact that she forgot her backpack. She ran, not caring where she was going, or all the people she bumped into. Her legs carried her to a park, which was devoid of children given the time of the day. Out of breath, Sakura merely dropped herself at the base of a tree, and started to cry her eyes out. Maybe they're right, and I'm not mean to be this, Sakura thought. Hinata has the Byakugan and her clan's taijutsu style, Ino Pig has her clan's jutsus, Tamaki has her cats, and Karen is a censor and can heal people. What do I have that makes me stand out? Or even makes me useful? Are you okay? A voice asked behind her. Sakura turned around, wiping the tears from her eyes. In front of her was Naruto, flanked by Karen and Hinata. She instantly noticed that Hinata was holding her backpack. How did you find me? The pinkette asked. Karen raised her hand. Censor. Sakura, you ran away before the classes ended. What happened? Naruto asked, as he crouched beside her. Why do you care? Sakura spat at him, making Naruto flinch. Hey, that's not a way to talk to somebody who asks if you're okay, you know. Karen shot back. You look pretty upset. It's because taijutsu spars are hard to you? Naruto asked. No. Yes. I mean it's not just that. Sakura said between sobs. I used to be the best girl of the class without even trying, but then your stupid dad had to change everything, and now I'm at the bottom. Naruto's soft face turned into an angry frown. Hey, don't blame my dad for wanting to make us stronger. Yeah, it's easy for you to say that, having not one but two legendary ninjas training you. Everybody has somebody who can train them, but not me. Hey, my mom knows some medical ninjutsu and a couple clan jutsus, but she sucks at everything else, Karen said in disagreement. Then how did you got so much better than me at taijutsu? Naruto offered me to train alongside him, being from the same clan and all that, she explained. But Naruto is like your cousin or something, right? Then my point still stands. Well, you could train with us if you wanted, Naruto offered. Sakura opened her eyes wide in shock. Really? But I'm not part of your family. So? Naruto failed to see the problem. Neither is Hinata, and we train together many times. Don't clans only train their own members? Sakura asked. Yeah, most of the time. But that doesn't mean we couldn't help other people too. Besides, it's not that we will reveal you clan's secrets or anything. Sakura stared at Naruto in disbelief. Why are you helping me? I mean it's not that we are friends or anything. We hardly speak to each other. Because I'm going to be Hokage, and a Hokage has to care about all the people of Konoha, not just your friends and family. And I can't stand see a smart girl like you like this. Besides, it's obvious that you need some help, Karen added, adjusting her glasses. And Naruto-kun was going to teach us something that he said it was good for people with good chakra control. Maybe could you join us and learn it? Hinata asked. Sakura smiled, as she stood up. Really? That would be great. In that case, go to training ground 3 tomorrow after class. Don't be late. Naruto said as he turned back and left. Karen left as well. Hinata, on the other hand, approached Sakura and handed her backpack. You forgot this. Oh thank you, Sakura wiped her tears and accepted her returning backpack. Sakura-san, may I ask you something? Hinata asked. Yeah, sure, go ahead. I mean, maybe it's not my place to ask, but what did make you want to become a ninja? Sakura was taken aback by Hinata's question. Looking back, she couldn't remember the reason for her to join. That wasn't good. She thought that maybe it was to impress Sasuke, but that couldn't be it since she didn't met Sasuke until later. But the reason, yes, she remembers she wanted to become a ninja when she was little, but that was just a stupid, childish dream she had cast it aside. Don't remember, Sakura sheepishly said. Hinata looked thoughtful. And do you still want to be a ninja? Why yes, I do. Why? What do you want to accomplish? Being a ninja isn't an end, but a means to an end. I want to become a ninja so I can be the leader of my clan someday. Naruto-kun wants to become a ninja to become Hokage. Why do you want to become a ninja? Sakura once again looked inside her mind for an answer but found nothing. Well, she did found something, Sasuke Uchiha. A boy. I want to become a ninja so I can impress a boy, who's already stronger than I'll ever be, Sakura thought, but she clearly wasn't going to tell her that. It is because Sasuke-san? Hinata guessed. Sakura suddenly turned red and jumped back from Hinata. Why do you think that? And what if it's true? It is wrong to like a boy. Everybody knows that you'll love to be more than friends with Naruto. Hinata turned red as well, and yelped. Was she that obvious? But then again Naruto didn't notice how she felt either. That's besides the point. Hinata stuttered, making an effort not to avert Sakura's accusatory glance. Why yes, I like Naruto-kun, but unlike you, I don't neglect my ninja training for the sake of a misguided attempt at impressing him. Sakura gasped at Hinata's accusation, but rather than anger, she felt sadness, for she knew that Hinata was telling the truth. How much time did she spend trying clothes and new hairstyles in order to draw her attention that could have been invested in training? Tears started to form in her eyes. Seeing this, the Hyuga realized that she went too far. Sorry, Sakura-san. I didn't mean to be so hurtful. No, you're right, Sakura replied, fighting back the tears. I'm a mess of a ninja. All I did was fawn over Sasuke-kun like a fangirl while the rest of you actually improved and got stronger. Well, it's not too late to improve. I mean, why you're really smart, and have the best chakra control of all of us. I think you'll make a wonderful kunoichi, Sakura-san. This managed to make Sakura smile again. You think so? Hinata nodded. You only need to find something to apply your strengths. In that case, I'll work hard to show everybody that I can become a ninja, even if I don't have a clan. Sakura stated, clenching her fist with determination. Then, she looked at Hinata in the eyes. Thanks for cheering me up, Hinata, you're a real sweetie. No wonder Naruto likes to hang out with you, Hinata smiled in return. Sakura continued eyeing her. And with a little wardrobe upgrade, you could be his girlfriend in no time. Hinata's face pretty much invented a new shade of red. What? Oh come on, drop the cute innocent girl act, Hinata, you're not fooling anyone. Well, except Naruto, Sakura teased. What's wrong with my clothes? Hinata asked as she looked at herself. For starters, why do you hide yourself behind this coat? It's not even cold. Flashback in the Hyuga compound dojo, Hinata was sparring against her mother, just like she did every day for her gentle fist practice. Suddenly, her mother stopping attacking, and stared at her in silence. Hinata grew nervous. Mother? Is there something wrong? Hikari smiled. Oh, nothing, honey. It's just that I think I should buy you a bra. Didn't expect you to develop so soon. Hinata turned bright red, and instinctively covered her chest with her arms. End flashback, I like this coat. Oh well. Whatever. Anyway, thanks for the talk again, and for bringing me my backpack. See you tomorrow. Sakura cheerfully said as she walked away. Meanwhile, at downtown Konoha, you have no right to do this. Sasuke angrily protested. Shut up. Just get out of here before I call the ANBU, a shopkeeper replied, just as heatedly, if not more. After the day of the failed Uchiha insurrection, the three remained Uchihas had become pariahs in Konoha. People would glare at them, murmur between themselves whenever an Uchiha was present, though they sometimes were loud enough for their insults to be heard, and treat them with scorn and contempt. Sasuke had learned to ignore all of the above and live with it as he could, but this was the first time they treated him with such an open hostility. Sasuke noticed that he was starting to outgrow most of his clothes, so he decided to buy new ones. However, the moment he tried to enter a store that caught his attention, the storekeeper, a bald man in his 40s with a mustache, wasted no time to kick him out. As the two of them loudly argued, a small crowd built around them, mostly to enjoy the spectacle, but some also joined the argument and threw some insults at Sasuke. Naturally, it didn't take too long before a couple of ANBU arrived to see what was causing the commotion. "What's going on here?" an ANBU with a ferret mask asked as he made his way through the crowd. "Oh, thank Kami you're here. Please take this demon away from my store." The storekeeper demanded the ANBU, while pointing at Sasuke. "You can't do that. This man just kicked me out of his store for no reason." Sasuke protested. "No reason. You're an Uchiha." "That's all the reason I need," the storekeeper replied. "I see." The other ANBU, who was wearing a bear mask, calmly placed a hand on Sasuke's shoulder. "Now everybody calm down, we are going to fix this." Everybody was expecting the ANBU to take Sasuke away, but much to everybody's shock, the ferret-masked ANBU slammed the storekeeper against a wall, and placed handcuffs on his wrists. "What the hell are you doing?" the storekeeper angrily demanded. "You yourself admitted to refuse service to a ninja of this village based on his clan alone. That's a clear violation of the clan discrimination bill. Hence, you're under arrest," the ANBU calmly explained as he dragged him away. "What? My wife was killed by those red-eyed bastards, and you take their side," the storekeeper angrily shouted. "You will regret this. Both you and the Hokage. You can't expect us to live side by side with those traitors." "Release him, he did nothing wrong," a random villager said. "Yes, take the Uchiha instead. Kill all of them before they betray us again," another village added. "Enough," the bear-masked ANBU bellowed. "Everybody, scatter or you will be arrested as well." The warning was effective, and people quietly resumed with what they were doing before the incident happened. The bear-masked ANBU was about to ask Sasuke if he was okay, but he noticed that the young Uchiha had already left. The next day after class, Sakura headed towards Training Ground 3, where Naruto, Hinata and Karen were already waiting for her. They were standing in front of a very large rock. "Alright, everybody is here, so we can start now," Naruto enthusiastically announced as he looked at Sakura. Naruto, don't get me wrong, I'm really thankful that you're teaching us this, but I hope you don't expect us, or at least me, to address you as sensei," Sakura stated. "What? Oh no. I'd be a crappy sensei anyway. At least until I get stronger," Naruto replied, rubbing the back of his head. "You see, this is Mom's super strength secret technique. It is very simple. All you have to do is gather chakra on your fist, and release it. Like this." Naruto then punched the rock behind him, leaving a small crack. "See? Wow, that's so amazing," Karen gushed. Does it hurt?" Hinata asked. "A little. That's why you also need to keep some chakra in order to shield your hands from the backlash. My chakra control is still far from perfect, but yours is much better. Why don't you give it a try?" Naruto moved aside from the rock in order to leave the girls enough space. The first one to go was Karen. Just as Naruto instructed, she gathered chakra on her fist, and punched the rock, leaving a bigger crack than Naruto's. However, she also shook her fist in pain once she was done. "Ah! You said it didn't hurt," Karen protested as she nursed her damaged hand. "I didn't said that. Did you remember to use some chakra to counter the backlash?" Naruto asked. Karen then shook her head. "I thought so." The next one to try was Hinata. However, she looked rather hesitant. Naruto-kun, it is okay for you to teach us this? I mean, you said it is Tsunade-sama's secret technique and, don't worry. Mom told me I can teach it to my friends if I want to," Naruto assured, grinning widely. Then his grin disappeared and added, "But please don't teach this to other people without asking me first, okay? And you can't teach this to Sasuke. I don't want to give him more weapons to use against me. Actually, if Sasuke-kun wanted to learn this, all what he had to do is copy it with the Sharingan," Sakura flatly stated, much to Naruto's horror. Noticing the blonde's distress, the pinkette added, but I don't think he will. Sasuke usually favors ninjutsu and armed combat over bare fists. Well, let's hope that he doesn't think about doing it. Come on Hinata, show me what you can do. The Hyuga nodded, and walked towards the rock. Clenching her fist, she gathered chakra, remembered Naruto's warning about the backlash, and punched the rock with all her might. She managed to make a crack slightly bigger than Karen's, and unlike the redhead she managed to avoid hurting her hand. Well done, Hinata. Naruto cheered with a big smile. Thanks you know, I think I may find a way to combine this W with the gentle fist, Hinata noted, mostly to herself. She was already working to combine elemental ninjutsu to the gentle fist, and if she also managed to combine both the results could be devastating. My turn. Sakura confidently said as she walked towards the rock. After mentally checking all the steps of the technique, she punched the rock. WHOA, 3 voices said in unison. Sakura managed to make a crack in the rock twice as big as Karen and Hinata's, plus she managed to pretty much sink her whole fist into the rock. Everybody, including Sakura, couldn't believe what just happened. Holy shit, that was amazing. Naruto shrieked, utterly perplexed. Dumbfounded, Sakura slowly removed her fist from the hole she just created. She stared at her unharmed hand for a whole minute, while her brain tried to process what just happened. Once her actions started to sink in, Sakura's mouth curved into a huge smile. Wow, look at this. Sakura beamed, pointing at the hole in the rock. Oh boy, I can't wait to show this to everybody else back in the academy. Oh, I can't wait to have a rematch against Ino. Let's see how does she like the new pink punching bag. Sakura said, followed by a rather disturbing laugh. Naruto? Do you think she's going mad with power? Karen asked, visibly worried. Well, I believe it's the rush of having a new technique. It should wear off soon, the blonde replied, as he continued watching Sakura making holes in the rock. And if Shido isn't? Hinata asked fearfully. Yes. Yes. I'm Sakura the Unstoppable. Sakura the Invincible. Tremble, everybody, and despair. Your doom has come to this world. Mwahahaha. After reducing the rock to rubble, Sakura then decided to take down a few trees. Dad said that the land of the crescent moon is a really nice place to live, Naruto replied, just as scared. Fortunately, just like Naruto said, Sakura didn't went mad with power, and calmed down the moment she exhausted her chakra after taking down a dozen trees. After saying their goodbyes and agreeing on a date for their next training session together, the 4 children headed for their respective houses. On his way home, there was something that caught Naruto's attention. Sitting alone on a small pier on the Naka River was no other than Sasuke Uchiha, his hands crossed under his chin, looking absent-mindedly at the orange and yellow reflection of the descending sun in the water. Sasuke was never the more social person to begin with, but since the Uchiha coup d'état 3 years ago, Sasuke had become even more quiet and asocial. Talking to him had the same effect as talking to a wall, and he usually lashed out at those who insisted on making him talk. Then again, Naruto could never understand what the boy was going through. Not only he had lost almost his entire family in a single night, but on top of that the standing of his once proud clan was lower than dirt. Itachi got a pass, since there were multiple witnesses to his acts and how he was instrumental in stopping the insurrection and saving the 3rd Hokage. But Sasuke and Shisui were pretty much the new village pariahs. And while Shisui managed to ignore the cold stares, murmurs, and the passive hostility, Sasuke was too young and didn't have the emotional maturity to deal with that. And, as such, he decided to close himself from the world. He had seen Sasuke like this many times, but for some reason never had the courage to go and try to talk to him. But given how he helped Sakura today, Naruto thought that maybe helping Sasuke wasn't beyond his power. Making his decision, the blonde Jinchuriki walked towards the youngest Uchiha. Hey, Sasuke! Naruto shouted. Sasuke didn't even turn back to look at him. Go away, idiot. I don't want to spar with you now. What? Oh come on, you didn't even let me finish. I don't want to fight you, just talk. I don't want to talk either, Sasuke scoffed. You know, you've been pretty cranky since Naruto rubbed his arm and looked sideways, even if Sasuke wasn't even looking at him. And you think you can help me? Yes, of course I can. Naruto excitedly replied. Alright. Tell me, did you ever lose most of your family in a single night, yet you have absolutely no one to blame for their deaths, and on top of that people want you to pay for their crimes? No. I'm afraid not. Then we have nothing to talk about. Now leave me alone. But I know what it feels being blamed for stuff that it's not your fault. This made Sasuke to finally turn around. Really? How? Did you forget that I have the Kyuubi sealed inside me? Naruto asked as he pointed at his stomach. There are a lot of people who fear me, because they believe that I will let the Kyuubi out one day and destroy Konoha. Others hate me for the people they lost during the attack, even if I'm merely the Kyuubi's container. My parents told me that they hate me because they need something to vent their hate, and I'm the easiest target. And that's what the people who lost their loved ones during the insurrection, like Ino, are doing with you and your remaining family. And you suffer because you want to lash out at somebody, but you don't have anybody to vent your frustrations. What about you? Don't you get frustrated? Don't you want to lash out at the people who mistreat you and hate you? Of course I do. Many times. But I have something else that helps me deal with it, my family and my friends. And I believe you have that too. Sasuke looked down, pensive. Suddenly, he felt really guilty for the cold treatment he had been giving both Itachi and Shisui, despite the fact that they only wanted to help him. Maybe he should make something to compensate them. And why are you telling me this? Do you want to be my friend all of a sudden? Sasuke asked, skeptical. Yeah, Naruto's smile was sincere. If you have a problem, you can count on me to help you. Sasuke remained a few seconds silent, looking at his feet. Tool, think about it, Sasuke muttered. He then stood up, placed his hands on his pockets, and walked away. I need to go home now. Naruto watched him go. Well, that went better than what he had originally expected. Many months later and once more, the school year came to an end. Naruto and his 11 classmates managed to pass the exam, which, besides the usual theory, included the 3 basic E-rank jutsus, even if they were also present in the exam of the previous year, Taijutsu, and Kunai and Shuriken toss. This meant that all of them would pass into the next course next year, which hopefully would be their last, before finally becoming a real ninja. After being congratulated by Irika, the 12 kids gathered their gear in their backpacks, and left. As usual, Naruto was walking with Hinata and Haku. Hey, today my dad is going to give me some new training, wanna tag along? Naruto asked his 2 friends. I'd love to, but I can't. My family and I are going to celebrate Nijinizan graduating and becoming a ninja, Hinata said, a bit down. But now that we have a few weeks off, I'm sure we can find time to hang out again, Naruto-kun. Naruto looked at her, puzzled. How do you know that Niji passed already? The final exam has been just now. Nijinizan is a prodigy, and thus I believe it's unlikely he failed the exam. In fact, he was even aiming to graduate as the Rookie of the Year. Naruto let out a whistle. He already knew that Niji was strong, but not to that point. Pushing those thoughts aside, he looked at the ice ninja. What about you, Haku? Like Hinata-san, I also have plans. Today is Friday, which means that I can visit Zabuza-sama in jail. 1 more year, and he'll be out of prison, the girl-looking boy replied. Maybe another day. Naruto looked down. Man, what a drag. Well, in that case, what the hell? When the trio exited the academy, they were greeted by an impossible image. Despite being 2 in the afternoon, the sun was setting. And on top of that, they could hear the sound of waves crashing, despite the fact that the nearest beach was more than 200 kilometers away from Konoha. "This is mostly unusual," Haku said, inspecting the scene. Hinata activated her Byakugan. "This doesn't appear to be a genjutsu, my Byakugan can't see through it." Before Naruto could say anything, he was interrupted by a pair of loud voices that came from somewhere near them. He could swear they came from within the academy. "It was thanks to you that I could graduate, Gai-sensei." "Nonsense. It was you who did all the hard work. I only gave you some pointers." "Gai-sensei. Lee. Gai-sensei. Lee. Gai-sensei. Lee." "Okay, I think I'm getting out of here before things get even weirder," Naruto said as he trailed off. Haku and Hinata did likewise. Konoha prison. Haku was sitting on a table, flanked by his legal guardians, Yugao and Hei-8, who were close behind him. At the other side of the table was Zabuza, wearing the prison uniform, with shackles and both his wrists and his ankles. "Good afternoon, Zabuza-sama. How have you been since I last came to visit you?" the ice ninja asked. "Same as always. The food is trash, the company is even worse, and I can't start a fight without being thrown into solitary confinement for a week. But other than that, I'm fine," the demon of the mist replied. "This will end soon. Next year I will be a ninja, and the Hokage will have to release you under probation. That's if he keeps his word." "Of course he will." Yugao slammed her fist on the table. "How you dare to doubt the word of the Hokage? Trust me, girl, being a Kage isn't something that makes him deserving of my trust, or anybody's trust, for that matter. I learned that the hard way." Hei-8 cleared his throat after coughing a few times. "I don't know how things are in Kirigakure, but in Konoha we tend to keep our promises and deals. Well, it's just that I know how much you guys like bloodline limits, and Haku's is especially powerful. I really find hard to believe that he will let us go that easily once I finish my probation. Like Hei-8-kun said, things here are different." "Do as you're told, and there won't be any troubles," Yugao said. "We'll see." Zabuza then redirected his attention to Haku. "What about you? Are they treating you good?" Haku's mouth curved into a smile. "Yes. I made a few friends in the academy. Yugao-san and Hei-8-san are really kind to me, and I can show my powers without being afraid of being persecuted. Konoha is a nice place. It's good that at least one of us is enjoying their stay here," Zabuza mentioned. "Smart. Really smart, Jiraya." Haku seemed to catch Zabuza's thoughts, and his expression turned serious. "But that doesn't mean that my loyalty towards you has wavered in the slightest. Once you finish your probation, I will go follow you should you choose to leave Konoha." Zabuza smirked, baring his sharp teeth. "Good to hear that." They continued talking for quite some time. Haku talked about the training he was getting from both the academy and his legal guardians, to which Zabuza constantly claimed that he would make a much better job. Zabuza also told him the little novelties that went in prison from the last time the ice ninja came to visit. Until they finally hit the 45 minutes mark, and Zabuza was brought to his cell. While they headed back home, Yugao couldn't hold her tongue about certain topic. "You know, Haku-kun, I never understand how such a kind boy like you can be so loyal to such bloodthirsty criminal. I told you that Zabuza-sama saved me from dash." "Yeah, we know," the purple-haired woman interrupted. "But still, the way he talks about you, as if you only existed to serve him and your feelings didn't matter. Why does that never bother you? It's a small price to pay, compared to my previous situation. What about Yugao-chan and myself? Didn't we treat you good during these years?" Hei-8 asked. "Yes. You've done an admirable effort taking care of me, and I will always be grateful for that." Hei-8 frowned. "Yet if you have to choose between Zabuza or us, you'll choose him." "Undoubtedly," Haku's answer left was definitive. "But why?" "That's what we can't understand," Yugao said with pleading eyes. Because he was the first to acknowledge me. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. That's why I have a debt with him that I will never be able to pay. Do you love him? Yes. He is the most important person to me. I see then. And do you think he loves you back? Haku averted his gaze. That's irrelevant. You didn't answer my question. Yugao wasn't going to let the issue go so easily. Haku stuttered something unintelligible before he gave his answer. Two don't know. I think he does. And do you want him to love you? Haku felt as if he was trying to force the words out of his mouth. Yes. Then, why don't you ask him that the next time we come to visit him? Hayate suggested. Tool, think about it. Can we talk about else now, please? Haku asked with pleading eyes. Yes. I believe we give you enough hell for that. So, do you want to have dinner at home, or do you want for us to go out? Training Ground 3, alright Naruto, this year will be your last at the academy, so we will make sure that by the time you graduate, you're good enough to become a Chunin. The only thing you'll need then will be experience, and that will come with the missions, Jiraya explained. Now, show me what you can do before we move into something new. Naruto and Jiraya spent half an hour sparring, while the Toad Sage made comments about things that Naruto had improved and others that he needed to work out. Then, he asked Naruto to make him a demonstration of his ninjutsu skills. First the 3 E-rank jutsus. Naruto had finally learned to do the body replacement without needing to do hand seals, and later his few wind jutsus. So, how it was? Naruto asked, expectant. Pretty good. But then again it's no surprise, given that you have such an awesome teacher like myself. I am the Hokage after all, Jiraiya said, with a self-aggrandizing air. Though your mom helped as well. Naruto was about to retort, when a realization dawned on him. Hey, I just realized something, Naruto said, narrowing his eyes at Jiraiya. Shouldn't you be at the Hokage's tower? How can you have so much spare time to train me? Oh, you noticed? Jiraiya asked with a foxy grin. You took your sweet time. And before you start throwing accusations, the answer is that I'm not the real Jiraiya, but a clone. The real me is back at the tower, working. Technically, the real Jiraiya was in a secret room in the tower writing the next Ika installment, while another couple of clones worked on the paperwork. A clone? Beautyuri, I mean, I can touch you. You mean that I'm solid? Yeah. Because I'm not a normal clone, but a shadow clone. Not only I'm solid, but I possess all the knowledge and jutsus from the real Jiraiya. And all the knowledge I gain will be sent to Jiraiya once I'm dispelled. Whoa, that jutsu, it's so cool. And how durable are you? It depends, but shadow clones are usually rather fragile, and a strong hit is enough to dispel them. Still, Jiraiya's clones are rather sturdy, and nothing less than a stab will dispel them. I see. And do the pain of the clones feel go back to the original too? No. Just the knowledge. Okay, then let me try something. Naruto said as he pulled out a kunai from his pouch. Hey kid, what are you dash? But the Jiraiya clone didn't time to react before Naruto sank a kunai on his chest, exploding in a cloud of smoke. 10 minutes later, Jiraiya, or better said, another clone, reappeared. Seriously brat, don't do that again. Jiraiya shouted in a scolding manner. We're wasting a lot of time. Not to mention that seeing you trying to kill me was disturbing as hell. Can you teach me that jutsu? Naruto asked, starry-eyed. This is a forbidden jutsu that is only taught to Jonin, Jiraiya replied. Naruto's stars vanished from his eyes. But then again, it's due its heavy chakra cost. And since you have way more chakra than the average genin, I don't see why you shouldn't. The stars returned once again to Naruto's eyes. The Toad Sage explained the process, which was surprisingly simple for being a forbidden jutsu. Once Naruto heard the explanation, he formed a cross with his index and middle fingers from both hands, and made his first attempt. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 15 Naruto clones appeared from just as many small cloud explosions. Jiraya looked at the display, speechless. Holy shit, brat. I knew you have a lot of chakra, but this is way too much. Jiraya shouted in shock, unconsciously stumbling back. Hell, I have pretty big chakra reserves and I can't make more than 6 clones. Naruto grinned. I can do more if you want. No, it's okay. Boy, if I knew this, I could have taught you this jutsu way earlier. This is going to accelerate your training big time. Naruto tilted his head. Come again? Brat, did you forget already what I said about the original retaining the knowledge of the clones? Wait, so that means I could have 5 clones learning 5 different jutsus at the same time, and thus I'd learn 5 jutsus in the time it takes to learn just one? Jiraiya smiled. You got it right. Naruto looked as if his birthday had just arrived. Oh boy, this is awesome. Now I'm going to be the most awesome ninja who ever lived in no time. Come on, teach me something else. I like your enthusiasm, kid. Your dad was just as eager to learn as you are. And thus, I believe it's about time you learn a jutsu that it's pretty much a family tradition. How do you like the idea of summoning an animal companion to help you in battle? Many months later and once again, a new school year began. One of the perks of Jiraya's reform was the introduction of optional subjects, which would help the future genin to choose their specialization as soon as possible. That means that, for a couple hours, the students wouldn't be together in the same classroom or training ground. Medical Ninjutsu course, Konoha Hospital, welcome everybody to my class. I'm sure everybody knows me, but I'll introduce myself nevertheless. My name is Tsunade Senju, and as you guessed, I will teach you medical ninjutsu, the slug Sannin announced, staring at her 5 students. Now, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell me why are you interested in learning medical ninjutsu? I think I will go first, Sakura said. She cleared her throat. My name is Sakura Haruno. I know that medical ninjutsu requires a fine chakra control and intelligence, traits I'm sure I possess. As for my motivation, I believe it's a good way to help my teammates in battle and make myself useful. Nice introduction, kid. How many times did you rehearse it in front of the mirror? 5 times, I mean, none. What I said came from the bottom of my heart. Tsunade smirked, amused. Sure, I believe you. What about you? She asked, looking at Ino. My name is Ino Yamanaka. I also think I have what it takes to be a medic. My reasons for wanting to be a medic is that ninjas are mostly known for killing, but I believe that saving lives is important too. And unlike Forehead Girl, I didn't rehearse this. Sakura shot his former friend a murderous glare. A noble thought, indeed. Who wants to go next? How about me? Karen suggested, raising his hand. My name is Karen Uzumaki. I already have an innate healing ability, so I think I could greatly benefit from learning medical ninjutsu. Tsunade merely nodded, and looked at her remaining 2 students. And my name is Hinata Hyuga, though why you already know who I am, Hinata said a bit sheepishly. I think my Byakugan can be a great tool for a medic nin, plus just like Ino-san said, we ninjas should help people in ways other than killing. Girl, you have no idea how much I wanted to get my hands on a Hyuga. But the rest of them seem to think that there's nothing beyond the gentle fist, Tsunade commented. But then again, a tool is just as good as the person using it. Don't think that having a Byakugan makes you a medic already. Oh, of course not. Tsunade then looked at his last student, who took the hint and spoke. My name is Shino Aburame. Like Karen, I also know medical ninjutsu. But then again, our clan's medical jutsus involve using our insects to repair our bodies, and thus non-Aburames are quite reluctant to be healed this way. And since I have an extensive knowledge of human anatomy, I believe I have a good base to learn mainstream medical jutsus. Good to have somebody in my class with a Y chromosome. I don't know why most men are so unwilling to learn medicine, Tsunade mused to herself. Alright, now that introductions are over, let's get started. The first thing you'll learn is the mystical palm jutsu, the basic healing jutsu, and the one you will use the most. My knucklehead of a son, who has an average chakra control and zero aptitude for medicine, learned this jutsu in 2 weeks, so I expect you to learn it in less than 1. Now open your books on page 7 and read Chakra Flow Course, Training Ground 18. Welcome to Chakra Flow Course. My name is Hayate Gecko, and I will be your teacher, the special Jonin said before coughing a couple times. You know, I wasn't expecting this many people to attend this class. Hayate students looked at each other a bit puzzled. They were Naruto, Sasuke, Haku, and Tamaki. Was Hayate expecting less than 4 people? In case you're wondering, last year I only got 1 student. A girl named Tenten, do you know her? No? Oh, never mind then, Hayate coughed again. Okay, now I'll explain you the basics of chakra flow. Like the name implies, it consists in channeling your chakra through a weapon to increase its power, as well as adding it other attributes. Now watch this. Hayate then tossed a kunai at a bullseye in a tree stump. The kunai's point stabbed itself in the middle. Now, watch what happens when I charge the kunai with my chakra before tossing it. Hayate showed the kunai, which had a faint blue glow, and tossed it against another bullseye. Except this time, the kunai drilled itself into the stump, making multiple large cracks. Naruto and Tamaki opened their mouths in awe, while Sasuke and Haku merely nodded. As you can see, good chakra control is essential to master this art. What I did was channel normal chakra. If you learn elemental chakra, you can coat your weapons in fire or electricity. Now take out a kunai or a shuriken, yes Haku, a senbon is also fine, and try to do it yourselves. Don't get frustrated if you don't get it at the first try. Elemental Ninjutsu Course, Training Ground 11. As many teachers expected, this was the optional subject with the most students. All of them actually. Irika himself was the instructor. Behind him were 5 opened boxes with scrolls on them. The boxes were labeled with the kanjis for fire, water, earth, wind, and lightning. I'm glad to see all of you here. You know already me and I know all of you, so we can skip the introductions and get down to business. Irika pulled a small sheet of brown paper from a pouch of his flak jacket. Does anybody knows what is this? Yes, Naruto. A chakra litmus paper. It's used to find out your elemental affinity. You channel chakra into the paper, and you can guess your affinity based on how it reacts. Irika smiled. Very well, Naruto. I believe you have been introduced to the basics of nature manipulation, right? The teacher asked. Naruto proudly nodded. Does anybody else knows the basics of nature manipulation? Sasuke, Haku, and Hinata raised their hands. Okay. As you can see, there are some boxes behind me. Said boxes have some D rank and C rank jutsus. Your task for today is to pick one and try to master it. The rest of you, take a litmus paper from me and see which is your affinity. If the paper burns, is fire. If it gets wet, is water. If it turns to dust, is earth. If it splits in 2, then is air. And if it wrinkles, is lightning. Shikamaru, Choji, and Tamaki got fire. Karen, Kiba, and Shino got earth. Ino got water. Irika-sensei, I think I have a problem here, Sakura said as he walked towards him. The teacher smiled. That's why I'm here. What's wrong, then? Is just that my paper did something weird. Can you give me another one? Maybe the one you gave me was defective. Irika titled his head, puzzled, but decided to comply the Pinkette's request and gave her another paper. After she channeled her chakra once again, the paper got wet, but then it crumbled into a paste. See? This is what happened before. Oh my! Irika looked at the remoing of the paper in surprise. What is it? There's something wrong with my chakra? Irika smiled in a reassuring way. There's nothing to worry about, Sakura. In fact, this is pretty good. Huh? The paper got wet, indicating water affinity, then crumbled, indicating earth affinity. That means that you have 2 affinities. Which is extremely rare outside bloodline limits. Sakura's worried face morphed into a smile of triumph. 2 affinities? Oh yes, the pinkette pumped her fists. Alright, now that everybody knows their affinity, I will teach you the basic control exercises that you'll need to master before you can learn any elemental jutsus. Time passed. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. And before anybody realized, it was the end of the school year, which would mean the final exam. Like the other exams, this one had written portion, which involved subjects such as math, physics, history, and geography. The ninjutsu portion consisted on showing the teacher a jutsu other than the 3 E-rank ones. Most people used their clan jutsus. Karen surprised Naruto with an Uzumaki secret jutsu called adamantine chains. Sakura used the chakra scalpel, which Naruto taught her, and Naruto himself used the summoning jutsu to summon a little red toad wearing a black jacket named Gamakichi. Other 2 portions consisted on taijutsu spar against a teacher, an obstacle course, and tossing kunai or shuriken against moving targets. And lastly, there was also a portion for each optional subject taken. All the students passed without much trouble. The position of Rookie of the Year, which was close between Sasuke and Haku, went to the former. Hinata was the top kunoichi, with Sakura being a close second. Irika congratulated each of his students at the same time he gave them their desired forehead protectors, signifying the fact that they were now real ninjas. He also told them to come back tomorrow to know their teammates and their jonin senseis. At the academy's entrances, the 12 new ninjas were being congratulated by their clans and families. Naruto was a bit dejected that Jiraya and Tsunade couldn't come, since they were busy at the moment, but at the very least, Shizune and the twins were for him. Congratulations, Naruto-kun. We all knew you'll make it, Shizune happily said as she patted Naruto on the back. I can't wait to show this to Mom and Dad. Naruto cheered, proudly pointing at the forehead protector on his head. It look cool on me, doesn't it? Hey, can I see it? Hagane asked, as he reached for Naruto's forehead. I want to see it too. Kaida said as well. Yes, but I asked first. But Naruto-Nizan likes me better than you. That's a lie. Naruto-Nizan, you like me better, right? Enough you too. You won't see anything if you don't behave. Shizune angrily chided. The twins shut up, and lowered their heads in shame. Now come on, today we will dinner somewhere special to celebrate your graduation. Yay! Ikarakus. Naruto and the twins said in unison. I said, somewhere special, not the place you go every day, Naruto-kun. Meanwhile, Hinata was also showing her forehead protector to her mother and little sister. The entire clan will be proud of you, Hinata, Hikari sweetly said, as she caressed her daughter's cheek. And top kunoichi no less. Hinata-nichan, can I see your forehead protector? Hanabi asked as she made puppy dog eyes. Hinata smiled at his sister, and handed the precious headgear to her. Of course, Hanabi-chan. You'll see how in no time you'll get yours too. Another kunoichi near the Hyugas was also showing her prize to her parents. See this? I'm a real ninja now. And I almost became top kunoichi. Not bad for somebody who doesn't have a clan, Sakura waved her forehead protector in front of her parents. We always knew you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, dear Kazashi, Sakura's father said. We're really proud of you, honey, Mabuki, Sakura's mother, said as she hugged her. While Sakura hugged her mother, she couldn't help but glance at certain black-haired boy who, just like everybody else, was showing his forehead protector to the remains of his clan. Rookie of the Year, Just like your big bro. Shursui said as he ruffled Sasuke's hair. I want to restore the honor of the clan. And by doing that I need to do my best in order to show the village what the Uchiha clan is made of. It was refreshing to see Sasuke happy for once. Now you will have plenty of opportunities to prove yourself and the clan. Come on, we have to celebrate your graduation at the top of your class, Itachi suggested as he and the other two Uchihas walked away. Near Sasuke, Yugao and Heiei were also congratulating their quasi-adoptive son, Haku, who was showing them his headband. Really impressive kid. It's a pity that you didn't become Rookie of the Year, but oh well, Yugao said as he patted his back. Thank you, Haku replied, smiling at them. Now if it's not much of a bother, could we go to the Hokage's office? This is the proof that I graduated, and thus the Hokage will have to release Zabuza-sama. That won't be necessary, brat, a voice behind them said. A voice Haku knew too well. The ice ninja turned around and saw Zabuza, no longer wearing the prison uniform, smirking at him from behind his mask. Surprised to see me? Zabuza-sama. Haku cried as he threw his arms around Zabuza, taking the swordsman completely by surprise. You're free at last. What the hell? Zabuza asked in shock as he held his hands upwards, as if Haku was made of fire. Hey, big guy, why don't you try hugging the kid back? Heiei suggested, while repressing a cough. Maybe you even like it. Going against his better judgment, Zabuza awkwardly wrapped his arms around Haku, and patted his back a couple times. What the hell is this place doing to me? Undisclosed location. In an underground location, a vast man-made cavern decorated with statues of snakes. 3 men were present, 2 of them having a conversation, while the third one listened intently. 2 of them had silver hair, with one of them also wearing glasses. The last one was taller than the other 2, had pale skin and long black hair. The latter man spoke first. So, tell me, Mizuki-san, what is your reasons to join my humble organization? Mizuki was bent down on one knee, looking at the floor. In front of him was a man whose immense power was only rivaled by his even greater ambition. This man could give Mizuki all what he ever wanted, or he could end his life right here. The former Konoha teacher had to choose his words carefully. Because I believe that we're the same, Orochimaru-sama. Like you, I'm a man not bound by petty morality. Like you, I'm a man that will stop at nothing to achieve my goals. Like you, I'm a man who wants to become stronger at any costs. And like you, I also left Konoha when I realized that that place had nothing more to offer. Orochimaru couldn't repress a smirk. You certainly has some guts, Mizuki-san, comparing yourself, a mere teacher, to somebody like me. Mizuki gulped. He needed to fix this fast. At no point I said that we were equals, Orochimaru-sama, but that we have similar mindsets. That's why I believe that my place is at your side. Orochimaru chuckled. He certainly enjoyed watching that lowly man squirm in a pathetic attempt at making a good impression. Orochimaru had already made his mind, since you can never have enough foot soldiers or guinea pigs, but he decided to pressure him a little more, just for his own amusement. And tell me, what could you offer to me and my organization to be accepted on it? Our numbers might pale in comparison with the great villages, but even we have standards. Mizuki smirked, and reached for his bag. That's why I brought a present that I'm sure you will enjoy. Upon seeing the bag's content, Orochimaru's yellow eyes expanded considerably. He took a step forward to check the item better. The forbidden scroll of the first Hokage, Orochimaru said in awe, passing a hand through the much-desired item. Then he glared at Mizuki. So it was you who had it all this time? Yes. I stole it during the Uchiha insurrection. They were so busy dealing with the Uchihas, that nobody thought about keeping the scroll safe. Stealing it was a child's play, Mizuki threw his shoulders back in pride. So that's why the scroll wasn't there when I went to steal it, Orochimaru calmly said, and suddenly, all trace of color disappeared from Mizuki's face. And you took no less than 4 years to bring it to me. Guess that the jutsus here were too complicated for your simple mind, huh? Mizuki knew he was screwed, and not in the fun way. His skin started to sweat bullets. Stammering, he tried to find an answer that would save his skin. Yusuri, I didn't thought that. Orochimaru's mouth formed an unnerving smile. But you did bring the scroll to me in the end. And like the old saying goes, all's well that ends well, right? So you aren't going to punish me? No, Mizuki-san. In fact, from this day onwards, you're now a ninja of Otogekure. Since you were a teacher, I believe you'll have no trouble training a squad of young recruits, right? Of course not, Orochimaru-sama. I'm eager to start working for you. Good. Kabuto, walk Mizuki-san towards his bedroom, please. Yes, Orochimaru-sama, the bespectacled ninja said, as he and Mizuki walked away. Alone, Orochimaru couldn't help but stare in awe at the object in his hands, the very reason he wanted to be Hokage to begin with. This would accelerate his plans greatly, but he also had to be cautious with the Akatsuki. It would do him no good if they realized that this scroll was in his possession now. Tsunade sighed in relief when she finally arrived home after a particularly long shift at the hospital. She hated missing Naruto's graduating ceremony, but she simply couldn't leave in the middle of a delicate surgery, which turned out more complicated than the initial diagnosis suggested. Anyway, at least she could give Naruto her congratulatory gift. She only hoped that Naruto wouldn't be too upset with her. The living room was empty, and so was the kitchen. She was about to go upstairs when a sound in the backyard caught her attention. And indeed, she saw Shizune in a light taijutsu spar with the twins, which immediately ended after her children and apprentice noticed her presence. Both white-haired kids said in unison as they rushed to her. Hey mom, Naruto Nizan is a ninja now. They even gave him a headband. Hagane excitedly commented as he tugged his mother's jacket. I know. I don't have any doubts that Naruto passed the exam without much trouble, Tsunade replied. Hey, now that you mention it, how is that you don't have a headband, Mom? Kaida asked. It's somewhere in my room. I don't use it because I find it uncomfortable, Tsunade told her daughter as she ruffled her hair. Then she turned at Shizune. Where is Naruto? In his bedroom, was the black-haired Kunoichi's answer. And how is he? Tsunade asked, feeling a bit uneasy. He was a bit upset that neither you nor Jiraiya-sama showed up, but I believe he understands why. I don't think he'll be mad at you, Shizune replied, trying to sound reassuring. Tsunade sighed, though she wasn't completely relieved, at least not until he talked with her eldest son. All right. I'll go to see him and give him his gift. Gift? Do you mean? Tsunade merely nodded. Enter. Naruto said after somebody knocked the door. He had an idea of who could be. And just like he expected, Tsunade entered his bedroom. Hi, Tsunade timidly said. First of all, I'm sorry for missing your big day, Naruto. Naruto simply smiled at her. It's okay. I know that your work at the hospital is important and sometimes you have to stay until late. And Dad's the Hokage, so that goes without saying. Tsunade smiled back at him. I'm glad that you're not mad at me, the Sannin then sat in the bed alongside him. So, you're a ninja now, how do you feel? Truth be told, the same as yesterday. Soon you'll start taking missions. Are you nervous? A foxy grin appeared on Naruto's face. Of course not. This is what I was born to do. Tsunade couldn't help but giggle a little at the display. I'm glad that you're so confident. That's good. But do not get too overconfident. That can get you killed in our line of work. Of course. You don't have to worry about me, Mom. There was a moment of silence. Tsunade kept staring at Naruto, whose smile never left his face for a single moment. Anyway, besides that, I also came here to give you a gift. You know, for finishing the academy and becoming a ninja. Naruto grew excited upon hearing the word gift, as his mind raced through the possibilities. Really? What is it? Without uttering a word, Tsunade removed the necklace from her neck, and placed it around Naruto's. All the enthusiasm from the blonde Jinchuriki disappeared, replaced by an overwhelming sense of awe. "Mom," Naruto said in an uncharacteristically low volume. "The necklace of the first Hokage? Why? Don't you like it?" No. I didn't mean that." Naruto quickly stuttered as he shook his hands in negation. "It's just that shouldn't you give this to Hagane or Kaida? This crystal has the chakra of the first Hokage, just like them. Besides, they're your real kids." Tsunade's expression hardened. She then grabbed Naruto by his shoulders, forcing him to look her into her eyes. "Naruto, listen to me. Maybe you didn't come from my body, but you're my son as much as the twins, and I will not let anybody say otherwise. Besides, with that necklace, now all my children have the chakra of my grandfather with them." For once, Naruto was at a loss for words. Thank you, Mom." Tsunade's stern expression was replaced by a warm smile. "You're welcome, kiddo. Now make me and the village proud." "You can bet I will," the Jinchuriki replied, with one of his trademark wide grins. The next day at the academy, Irika looked at his now former students with pride. They were sitting on their usual seats, for what will be the last time. The teacher was afraid that Jiraya's educational reform will turn into a slaughterhouse, and while many students ended up dropping out due to the increased standards, these 12 kids persevered until the very end and came out triumphant. Turn out Jiraiya-sama's idea wasn't so harebrained after all. This kids will be way more prepared for the future than if we stuck to the old model. Clearing his throat, Irika spoke. "I told you yesterday already, but let me congratulate you again. It has been great having you as my students, but now, somebody else will take my place, somebody who will be able to teach you according to your growing needs. You will be organized into 4-man cells, composed by 3 genin and a jonin, that will be your commanding officer, as well as your teacher. In the past, we used to make the teams based on grades, so the average grade of each team would be more or less the same as everybody else in order to have balanced teams. But Hokage-sama thought that this idea was stupid, so he suggested to create specialized teams based on the skills of its components. Some people like it, others preferred the older system, but it doesn't matter. It's what the Hokage wants, and his word is the law. And without further ado, these are the team formations." Everybody listened intently to the teacher as he revealed who will be their teammates for the foreseeable future. And without further ado, these are the team formations: Assault Squad, Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga, and Haku Yuki. "Ah yeah!" Naruto shouted as he grabbed both Hinata and Haku in a hug on each arm. Haku merely chuckled, while Hinata turned red like a tomato. "I'm in the same team as Naruto-kun, I can't believe my luck," Hinata thought, unmolested by Naruto's arm wrapped around her. "Naruto, enough!" Irika angrily shouted. Then he continued reading. Medical Squad, Sakura Haruno, Karen Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha. "Yes. I'm with Sasuke-kun," both Sakura and Karen gushed at the same time. Noticing what just happened, they glared and hissed at each other. "There was a time I would have killed to be in the same team as Sasuke, now I feel lucky I'm not with him. Come on Sakura, can't you see he's dangerous, and not in a kinky way?" Ino thought while she glanced at both Sakura and Sasuke. Sasuke raised his hand. "Irika-sensei, there has to be a mistake. Not only I'm not a medic, but there's no way I can be in the same team as those two. I mean, I can tolerate one, but two. I can assure you that there are no mistakes, Sasuke. If you have any question, talk it with your Jonin-sensei when she arrives." Irika then turned his eyes back to the list. Animal Squad, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, and Tamaki. "I'm with the Fleabag. I demand another team," Tamaki asked as she looked at Kiba in disgust. You should be honored to be in the same team as me, apprentice of a crazy cat lady. Kiba spat back. Shino didn't say anything, just let out a long sigh. Irika groaned, and pinched the bridge of his nose. On second thought, I'm glad you guys are now somebody else's problem. And lastly, Tactical Squad, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi and Ino Yamanaka. Shikamaru high-fived Choji without either of them had to turn at each other. Those are the teams. If you have a problem with them, go complain to the Hokage. Now, wait here. Your Jonin-sensei had been warned, and will come to pick you up any moment, Irika announced before leaving the classroom. 5 minutes later, just as the teacher had said, a Jonin entered the room. A black-haired woman that Naruto, and to a lesser extent Sasuke, knew very well. Hey, Shizune-chan. Naruto enthusiastically called, waving at her. Are you a Jonin-sensei? Shizune smiled at him. Yes. I thought it would be a nice experience. That's awesome. Are you my team sensei? I'm afraid not, Naruto-kun. It's forbidden for a Jonin to be the sensei of a team with a close relative on it. Noticing that Naruto's disappointment, she added, but don't worry, I know your sensei, and I'm sure you'll like her. Now, members of the medical squad, can you come with me? Sasuke, Sakura and Karen got up from their seats and followed the black-haired Kunoichi out of the class. Of course, Konoha's second-best medic would be the leader of the medical squad, Sakura thought in realization. 10 minutes later, 2 Jonin arrived at the same time. One of them was a tall man with short, spiky black hair and a beard of the same color, and tan skin. He had a cigarette on his mouth. The other was a woman with long raven hair and deep crimson eyes that could be easily mistaken for a Sharingan. Tactical Squad, with me, the man said. Assault Squad, come with me, the woman added. Both teams got up from their seats and followed their senseis out of the classroom, leaving the members of the animal squad alone. An hour later, I believe they forgot about us, Kiba complained. Akamaru barked in agreement. Maybe our sensei is late? Tamaki said. No, late would be 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, the other senseis only took 10 minutes to arrive while we have been waiting here for almost an hour. I suggest patience, Shino spoke. This man is a Jonin, and thus somebody serious worth of his rank. I'm positive that he'll have an acceptable reason for not being on time. 2 hours later Tamaki was asleep on her desk. Kiba was groaning in annoyance. Where the hell is this guy? Regardless of what I said before, I'm starting to believe that either our sensei forgot about us, or the Hokage forgot to tell him about us. In either case, an unacceptable behavior from either our sensei or the Hokage, Shino commented, a little irritation seeping through his usual stoic monotone tone. That moment, the door opened, revealing a tall man with silver-colored, gravity-defying hair, whose lower part of his face was covered by a mask. Yo, the man laconically said. You're late. Kiba yelled at the man, abruptly waking Tamaki up. Oh, sorry about that. I kinda forgot how to arrive here. You know, it's been a while since I was an academy student, the man said, giving the 3 genin an eye smile. I believe that you're the animal squad? By virtue of being the only remaining team present, yes, we are, Shino replied. Alright, then come with me. And once again, sorry for being late. It will never happen again. The 3 genin had the impression that that was a huge lie. Training Ground 10 Shikamaru, Choji and Ino were sitting on the grass, looking at the tall bearded man in front of him, who had informed that this training ground would be now where they will be training from now onwards as a team. Alright, before I explain you the role of this team as a whole, why don't you introduce ourselves to each other, you know, to be better acquitted, the man said as he gave his cigarette a puff. I'll start. My name is Asuma Sarutobi. I like to train, hang out with my friends, and play shogi. Shikamaru perked up upon hearing this. I dislike bullies, and those who doesn't take their roles as a ninja seriously. My dream is to make a name of myself, marry a nice woman, and start a family. It was Ino who perked up upon hearing the last bit of information. Her mouth curved into a huge smile. Do you have somebody in mind already? I don't think I have to tell you that, Asuma replied. Ino's grin grew even wider. That mean yes, then. Was that pretty woman that came with you? I noticed the looks she was shooting at you. Man, if I knew that this girl was so much into gossiping I would have my trap shut, Asuma thought. Why don't you share something about you? That way we should be even. Why, of course, Ino chirped, before clearing her throat. My name is Ino Yamanaka, future heir of the Yamanaka clan once I'm 18. I like shopping and gossiping, her face considerably soured before continuing. I dislike traitors and murderers. And my dream is to become a great kunoichi so I can lead my clan properly so we can keep Konoha safer. Asuma remembered that Ino lost her dad during the Uchiha insurrection. While she didn't make any specific references, it was easy to guess who she was thinking when she talked about traitors and murderers. If you work hard, I'm sure you'll achieve your dream. Asuma then turned to Choji, who was munching some chips, and nodded at him. The Akimichi took the hint. My name is Choji Akimichi. Eating is what I like the most. While I have some favorite foods, I'm also open to taste new things. I dislike people who judge others based on their appearance. And my dream is to become a great ninja, just like my father. Well, maybe you could moderate a little on the food if you want to achieve that goal, Asuma said, making Choji to frown at him, but didn't stop eating his chips. The Jonin then stared at Shikamaru, who replied with a long sigh. My name is Shikamaru Nara. I like playing shogi and watching the clouds. I dislike, well, pretty much anything that requires some sort of physical effort on my part, if it's not a life or death situation. And my dreams for the future, guess it would be to have a quiet life devoid of complications, and maybe have a family as well. Interesting. Maybe you and I should play shogi sometime, Asuma said, earning a shrug from Shikamaru as if saying, sure, why not? And maybe I could do something about that laziness of yours. Shikamaru gave another shrug, this one meaning, you're welcome to try. Alright, so the four of us form the tactical squad. The role of this squad will be taking care of missions other specialized teams wouldn't be qualified for, such as infiltration, reconnaissance, captures, dealing with enemies that won't go down with just brute force, and so on. It is no coincidence that you three were chosen for this squad. Members of the Nara, Akimichi and Yamanaka clans being on the same team is a tradition that goes back 15 generations, but I'm sure you're already aware about that. Now, I must tell you something. Despite what Irika might have told you, you're not genin already. This earned a loud, what, from Ino and Choji, and a soft, from Shikamaru. Before you're officially genin, I must give you my approval. And before I can do that, I have to test you first. What kind of test is going to be, Asuma-sensei? Choji asked, after apparently finishing his bag of chips. A simple spar. You three against me. The teamwork of your three clans is downright legendary, and I want to check if you're going to live up to said legend, Asuma explained before finishing his cigarette, dropping it at his feet and stepping on it to put it out completely. The three genin got on their feet, and prepared for the fight. Training ground 9. Just like Asuma's team, Shizun's team were sitting in front of their sensei, though in their case they were sitting on a makeshift bench made out of a fallen tree, Sasuke in the middle with Sakura and Karen at each side. And just like Asuma, Shizun proposed to introduce themselves to each other. My name is Shizun Kato. I like medicine, helping others, cute animals, and to visit cultural heritage sites. I dislike drunks and gamblers. My dream is to become a great kunoichi and live up to Tsunade-sama's legacy. Well, now you know a little more about me, the adult medic Nin said with a warm smile. Who wants to go next? Sakura cleared her throat. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like, well, cute boys, she said, glancing at Sasuke, who didn't react. I also like medicine. I dislike people who judge others without getting to know them, and my dream is to prove that I can become a great kunoichi despite not being born into a ninja clan. Without waiting for Shizen to say anything, Karen started her introduction, slightly upset that Sakura got to introduce herself first. My name is Karen Uzumaki. I like perfumes, medicine, and having a permanent home. I dislike rude people. My dream is to restore my clan to its former glory, and be strong enough so I don't have to worry about people wanting to hurt me or my family. Shizen nodded and smiled, then looked at Sasuke, who groaned in return. Let's get over this already. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like training and getting stronger, and when I'm not doing that I like to take long walks. I dislike people who hurt those I care about. And my dream is to become the strongest ninja this village has ever seen, as well as to restore the honor of my clan. Well, now that we all know a little more about each other, how about I explain you the role of this team? Shizen asked. Sasuke raised his hand. Yes, Sasuke. This is a medical squad, and I can see that you, Sakura and Karen are medics. But I'm not a medic. Shouldn't somebody like Ino or Hinata be here instead of me? I think I belong to the assault squad or even the tactical squad. Clearly there has been a mistake when the teams were formed. Jiraya-sama told me you'd said that. And no, there were no mistakes with the team placements. If you allow me to explain how this team will work, you'll understand why you're here instead of a more offensive-oriented team. You have my attention then. Alright. The medical squad is mostly a search and rescue team. Our duty includes searching disappeared people, healing the wounded and rescue people from dangerous areas, among many others. When working alongside other squads, our role will be to support them. Now Sasuke, as for your presence here. You see, for obvious reasons, medics tend to be the first ones being targeted by the enemy forces. Since most of the time medics will be healing and assisting others, they will be unable to defend themselves and thus vulnerable to enemy attacks. Sakura and Karen imagined a chibi version of themselves healing a random Konoha ninja, only to be ambushed by an enemy who stabs them in the back multiple times, making their spirit leave their lifeless bodies. If that happens, not only we lose a medic, but the person he or she may be healing. Your role is make sure that such thing doesn't happen. So I'm an escort? The Uchiha asked. Exactly. I'm glad you got it. Sakura and Karen replayed the same scenario as before in their minds, except this time a chibi Sasuke appeared and defeated the enemy ninja before he could harm either of them, and posed heroically. Sakura and Karen stared at Sasuke with heart in their eyes as the wounded ninja they were treating died due to the lack of medical assistance, causing his spirit to leave the body. However, there is something you should know, you're not real genin yet, Shizen revealed, much to her students' shock. You still need to go through one last test to determine if you're worthy of being part of this team. If you fail, you will be sent back to the academy. Sasuke's initial shock was short-lived. I've taken quite a few tests already. I'm not afraid to take one more. Sasuke-kun is right, whatever you have planned, we can go through it. Sakura added. What she said, Karen said. Alright. See the small forest behind me? Shizen asked, motioning back. There's a medical training dummy hidden somewhere among the trees. Your task is finding said dummy, treat its injuries, then bring it here. I will attack you from time to time. But don't worry, I will hold back. Now go. The two girls and the one boy rushed into the forest. Training Ground 7. Just like the two teams before, Kakashi asked their genins to introduce themselves. Why don't you introduce yourself first? Tamaki suggested. Alright, I guess it would be fair, Kakashi said. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I like many things. As for things I dislike, I don't feel like talking about them. And my dreams, well, I have dreams just like everybody else. There, now you go. Wow, not only he's absurdly late, but he doesn't tell anything about himself other than his name, Kiba snarled exasperatedly. Akamaru growled as well. Excuse me, Kakashi-sensei, but you can't expect us to tell you personal information about us if you're not willing to share anything about you with us in return. Why? Because while trust is important on a team, trust is also a two-way road. You can't ask for trust if you don't trust others yourself, Shino explained. Kakashi stared at him for a few seconds as he processed the bug user's elaborated rant. How old are you again? 12. But I fail to see how's that relevant to the matter at hand. Tamaki shifted in her seat, and looked at Shino. I believe Kakashi-sensei thinks you don't speak like a kid our age should. There is absolutely nothing wrong with my manner of speech. And if you think there is something wrong, then, like kids our age usually say, deal with it. Kakashi let out a sigh. Okay, let's start over again. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I like books, dogs and training. This elicited a smirk from Kiba and a frown from Tamaki. I dislike people who abandon their comrades. And my dream, well, I'm not entirely sure, guess it would be to make up for all the mistakes I made in the past and all the people I failed. There, are you happy now? What mistakes? Tamaki asked, leaning forward. What people you failed? Kiba asked, interested as well. Sorry, that's all you're going to get from me right now, so don't push your luck. Well, Kiba, why don't you introduce yourself? Alright. My name is Kiba Inuzuka, and this is my best friend, Akamaru. Akamaru happily barked upon being acknowledged. I like dogs, take long walks, running, and meat. I dislike cats, Kiba shot a glare at Tamaki. The girl merely stuck her tongue at him. And my dream is to reach higher than any Inuzuka ever did, like being Hokage. Interesting, was all that Kakashi said. He then motioned at the only girl in the group. Shall you introduce yourself? Sure. My name is Tamaki. I like playing with my cats, buying new clothes, and climb high places. I dislike dogs, especially those who bark constantly the moment you get near them. And my dream is for one day to start a clan on my own, and make a name for myself. Nice introduction, Kakashi said, with his trademark eye smile. Now, since that's out of the way, let's dash. Actually, I believe I didn't introduce myself yet, Shino interceded. What? Oh my, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not feeling that hot today, Kakashi replied in an irritatingly jovial tone. You know, forgetting about one of your students is not a mark of a good sensei, Shino glared at Kakashi from behind his shades. Never mind. My name is Shino Aburame. I like entomology, medicine, and nature. I dislike people who hate or kill insects for no reason. My dream is to discover a new or very rare species of insects, as well as advancing the field of entomology. Okay, now that everybody has been introduced, let's get down to business. Given the name of the team, it should be obvious what you all have in common. Kiba has his dog, Shino his insects and Tamaki cats. Where are your cats, Tamaki? Tamaki half expected that question. I don't have them with me all the time, they're with Grandma. If I need them, I can use the summoning jutsu. Interesting. So young, and with a summoning contract? It's not that big deal, Tamaki said with a dismissive wave of her hand. Another kid of our class, Naruto, can summon toads. What about you? For being the leader of the animal squad, you don't have any animal with you either. Summoning jutsu, was all what Kakashi answered, thought it was enough to satisfy his students. Anyway, we're getting off track. From time immemorial, many ninjas had used animals as companions to aid them in battle. Regardless of how powerful a ninja becomes, there are abilities that he or she will never have, but animals do have. This led many clans, such as the Inuzukas, to specialize in breeding animals and develop a fighting style involving them. And thus, the main role of the animal squad will be to take care of missions in which human ninjas would be insufficient, such as tracking, searching for hidden objects, and so on. Our secondary role will be to offer support to other teams. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. In that case, then you should know that you're not genin already. How can that be, if we graduated from the academy? Shino asked, as he adjusted his glasses. Because the graduating the academy is a prerequisite to take the real genin test. And if you fail it, you'll go back to the academy. Oh come on. You can't do that. Kiba protested, shaking his fists. Trust me, I can. Now, let's proceed with the test. Kakashi then pulled from a pocket 2 small bells. Do you know what is this? Training Ground 8. Just like the 3 other teams, Naruto, Hinata and Haku were sitting around their sensei, who was studying them intently. Well, look at that. This year we're going to have not 1 but 2 genin teams that are majorly female. It's good to see more women taking the path of the ninja. Kurenai then stared at Naruto, and smiled at him. Given that you were raised by the strongest kunoichi who ever lived, I'm sure you won't have any problem being the only boy in the team. However, much to her confusion, Naruto started to chortle. The red-eyed woman frowned, and placed her hands on her hips. Did I say something funny, Naruto? As a matter of fact, you did, Naruto said between giggles. Kurenai-sensei, despite my appearance you should know that I'm actually a boy, Haku interceded. Kurenai stared at the ice ninja for a few seconds, and as his words sunk in, her eyes grew while her irises shrunk. A faint blush flashed on her face. Her hands then flew to her face. Oh my. I'm so sorry. I mean, given your name and the way you look. Kurenai spluttered. Haku, however, smiled. It's okay, Kurenai-sensei. A lot of people mistake me for a girl. Guess that the way I dress doesn't help. If that happens often, then no wonder he doesn't look upset at all. Still, I can't believe I did that, the Jonin thought. It's more common than you think. When I went to Suna a few years ago I also saw a guy who looked like a woman, Naruto shared in an almost apologetic tone. Okay, let's forget about this and how about we get to know each other better? I'll start. My name is Kurenai Yuhi. I like going out with my friends for a drink during the evenings. I don't like people who thinks that I'm weak or useless just because I'm a woman. And my dream is to become a kunoichi of renown, like Tsunade-sama. Or at least attain a level of skill close to hers. Now that you know me, who wants to go next? Oh, me. Me. Naruto said, frantically waving his hand at her. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I love ramen, learning new jutsus, gardening, my friends and my family. I dislike the 3 minutes you have to wait for the ramen to cook, as well as people who are mean to others. And my dream is to become the best Hokage who ever lived. Kurenai chuckled. Huh. And here I thought that my ambitions were grandiose. Who wants to go now? I believe I will, Haku said. My name is Haku Yuki. I like Konoha, Yugao-san, Hayate-san, Zabuza-sama, and the friends I made at the academy. I don't like people who hate others for reasons outside their control. I don't mind people mistaking me for a girl, but as of recent it's starting to become kind of annoying. My dream is to help Zabuza-sama end the current Mizuki's tyranny and restore peace to the land of water. Kurenai took note of the girl-looking boy's words. His vocal loyalty towards the rogue swordsman was worrying. But then again, he said he liked Konoha. She decided not worry about that for the time being, and looked at the only member of her team that didn't introduce herself yet. Hi, my name is Hinata Hyuga. She trailed off, glancing quickly at Naruto while blushing a bit, something both Kurenai and Haku noticed, but Naruto missed. I like pressing flowers, gardening, and hanging out with my friends. I dislike rude and mean people, as well as the division of my clan. My dream is to become a great kunoichi so I can succeed my mother as a clan leader someday, and help her to undo the rift in our clan. Kurenai smiled at the little Hyuga's introduction. Okay, now that introductions are over, I'll explain you the function of this team. As the name implies, we're an offensive unit, with Haku focused on ninjutsu, Hinata on taijutsu, Naruto on a mix of both, and myself on genjutsu. Our job will be mostly focused on combat. Pretty simple as you can see. Alright. When are we going to start doing missions? Naruto asked. Oh, about that. Well, you see, you're not genin already. You still have to pass one more test of my choice. If you fail, you will be sent back to the academy. Kurenai answered. Naruto took a few moments to process his sensei's words, but when he did, his reaction was both instant and predictable. What? Haku's face soured. Then if I don't pass this test, Zabuza-sama will go back to jail? Hey, don't give me those looks. I saw your academy profiles. This should be piece of cake for you. So, what is going to be the T-test, Kurenai-sensei? Hinata asked. I'm glad you asked. Kurenai then produced a storage scroll, and unsealed an old, rusty body armor. The body armor used to be blue, but the color was now almost completely faded. It had multiple dents and scratches. But what drew their attention were the two huge red and white bullseyes painted in the front and the back of the armor. Kurenai started to put the armor on. For this test, you'll need to hit either of the bullseyes with a weapon or a ninjutsu attack. You have 3 hours. To give you guys a chance, I won't use ninjutsu nor genjutsu. Any questions? Hinata raised his hand. The 3 of us have to hit you? Kurenai shook her head. No, if either of you hit the bullseyes, all 3 will pass the exam. More questions? The Jonin asked. Her genin remained silent. Alright, in that case, let us commence. Kurenai made a hand seal, and she suddenly vanished as if she was made of dust. The hell? A very confused Naruto asked. I believe that was a genjutsu, Hinata said, thought it was more a guess. Wait, so she wasn't even here to begin with? It seems so, Haku concluded as he got up and grabbed a handful of senbon. Come on, we need to pass this test. Yeah, but where did she go? Naruto asked. My guess would be among a group of trees. Haku then turned to Hinata. Hinata-san, we will need your Byakugan to locate her. The Hyuga nodded, made a hand seal, and activated her Dojutsu. Just like Haku had guessed, Kurenai was hiding on the canopy of a big and lush tree. She felt a bit disappointed that neither of them noticed that she had casted a genjutsu on them while they were talking, but then again the kids weren't used to deal with this kind of illusions. Unfortunately, as good as Jiraya's academy reform was, genjutsu was once again barely covered, and the little practice was more about dispelling than casting them. Anyway, she was sure she could teach at least one of her students the art of illusions. While Naruto's chakra control still needed some polishing before he could use genjutsus, Hinata and Haku were perfect. Though she also discarded Hinata when she remembered that the Hyuga heiress was also training in elemental ninjutsu and medicine besides the gentle fist, leaving Haku, who seemed to focus mostly in ninjutsu, as the most suitable candidate. A whirring sound Kurenai identified as shuriken snapped her of her thoughts. She immediately jumped out of the branch she was resting on before the steel stars embedded themselves into the wood, and landed on a small clearing. Her 3 genin appeared shortly afterwards, and surrounded her. Kurenai smirked. I must admit, you found me earlier than I thought. With Hinata's Byakugan it was piece of cake, Naruto said, as he made a hand seal. And with this, passing this exam will be even easier. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 20 Naruto clones appeared from smoke, forming a circle around the genjutsu mistress. Get her. Kunai in hand, all Narutos charged forward. Kurenai also pulled out 2 kunai of her own, and started to slash the orange-clad clones while she dodged their almost telegraphed swings. Some clones that did not charge pulled out some shurikens and threw them at her. Kurenai grabbed one of the clones and used him as a human shield while attacking the others. In a couple minutes, the clones were no more. Haku decided it was his turn to attack, and threw a trio of senbons at his sensei. Kurenai turned around and deflected all of them with a kunai. From the corner of her eye she saw Hinata ready to strike her with a palm strike. She grabbed Hinata's wrist just before she could touch the jonin, and threw her crashing against Naruto. Haku started to make hand seals, but before he could complete the sequence, Kurenai was already in front of him. The raven-haired woman sunk her knee on the ice ninja's gut, knocking the wind out of his stomach. And just like she did with Hinata, she grabbed his wrist and tossed the kimono-wearing boy against a tree. Tsk, such a disorganized attack. Kurenai shook her head in disappointment. You will need to do better than that if you don't want to return to the academy, she said before leaping away. After getting back on their feet, the three genins decided to regroup, and plan a better strategy, given how attacking her at random produced such a disastrous results. Alright, anybody got an idea? Haku asked. Naruto nodded. I believe that Hinata should attack her head-on, while we wait for an opening and try to attack her from the distance. Hinata looked at Naruto surprised. Me, attack Kurenai-sensei? But why? Because you're the best at taijutsu here. It isn't obvious? Naruto explained. While you keep her distracted, Haku can attack her with his needles and ice jutsus while I use my clones and wind jutsus. We will provide you cover so you can get close to her, Haku added. Hinata looked at her male teammates. They both were placing their trust on her. Despite Hinata wanting to protest, a part of her told her to keep going, and that she could lead the team to success. Alright, the little Hyuga said, nodding. Scanning the area with her Byakugan, Hinata found Kurenai standing on a clearing surrounded by several trees. The perfect spot for an ambush. Almost too perfect. While it smelled like a trap, Hinata didn't see any. Or maybe she was taunting them by choosing such a disadvantageous terrain. Nevertheless, they decided to take the risk and attack. Haku was the one to initiate the attack. He took from his pouch a storage scroll with water sealed on it, and unsealed its contents. A large puddle was former at his feet. Kurenai didn't detect his presence yet. Or she did but pretended not to. Nevertheless, it was time to attack. Haku formed the required hand seals. Ice release, piercing icicle shot. Using the water of the puddle, Haku formed several ice spears that floated above him, and flew at Kurenai. The raven-haired Kunoichi performed several backflips while avoiding the deathly ice attack. Naruto saw it as the perfect chance to attack. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Kurenai found herself once again surrounded by orange-clad clones. All of them pulled out shurikens and tossed them at her. Kurenai rolled into the ground, expertly avoiding the ninja stars, which ended up hitting the clones instead, dispelling most of them. Such recklessness. If those were your teammates instead of mere clones, Kurenai shook her head in disappointment as she quickly destroyed the few remaining clones. Hinata, now, the last clone shouted before being dispelled. The Hyuga heiress leaped from her hiding spot at the top of a tree and landed in front of Kurenai. The two women started to trade blows. Thanks to Naruto and Haku attacking from afar, the Genjutsu mistress was forced into the defensive. Seeing an opening, Kurenai kicked Hinata in the gut, and dashed at Naruto, who was about to throw more shurikens at her. Kurenai grabbed him by his wrist, and tossed him against a tree. She was about to move towards Haku, when the corner of her eye caught Hinata doing hand seals. Suddenly, Hinata's hands were crackling with electricity. The Hyuga dashed at her as fast as she could. Lightning release, thunder palm. She combined the gentle fist with elemental manipulation. Amazing. These kids are sure something, Kurenai thought as she dodged Hinata's electricity-enhanced palm strikes. Unfortunately for her, her musings made her fail to see that Naruto was on his feet again and was making hand seals. Wind release, Cyclone Vortex. Naruto thrusted both his hands forward, forming a cone-shaped gale. Despite pouring a lot of chakra into it, he didn't manage to make it as powerful as he wanted. Still, the cone of wind managed to almost push Kurenai from her spot, and distract her long enough for Hinata to hit her in the shoulder with a palm strike in the shoulder, not only closing her tenketsu, but also numbing her shoulder with electricity. Arg! Kurenai shouted as she fell on her knees and instinctively grabbed her shoulder with other hand. Now! Haku leaped from behind, and fired a barrage of senbons at the genjutsu mistress. Kurenai tried to run as fast as she could, and while she managed to avoid most of them, a couple of soft thuds indicated that at least 2 of the needles found its mark. Yes. We did it. Naruto cheered, pumping his fist in the air. Haku and Hinata walked towards him. Kurenai removed her armor, and confirmed that 2 of Haku's senbons had embedded on the bullseye on the armor's back. She sealed the armor again in the scroll, and walked towards the 3 genin, who were still cheering for their victory. Upon seeing her holding her shoulder, Hinata immediately started to use the mystical palm jutsu on it. "Congratulations, you 3, you passed the test," Kurenai praised, smiling, "now you're real ninjas. See? I told you that it wouldn't be that hard. And it was thanks to Hinata," Naruto claimed as he patted Hinata on the back. "Told you could do it." Well, it was a team effort plus it was Haku-kun who dealt the killing blow, Hinata stuttered as she averted her gaze. "Hinata is right. You passed the test because you worked together, as a team should," Kurenai interceded. "So, that was the meaning of the test, to teach us the Vol teamwork?" Naruto asked. "We already knew that." "Yes, but that's not all. So far, you only fought in friendly, controlled spars, and tossed kunais and shurikens and immobile tree stumps. This was meant to give you a taste of what you will find out there, fast-moving enemies that will come at you with the intention to kill." "So, what do we do now?" Haku asked. "Take the rest of the day off. Starting tomorrow, we will take missions at mornings, take a lunch break, then spend a couple hours in the afternoon training. We won't do neither missions nor training during weekends, but please keep training on your own those days as well," Kurenai explained. "Meet me tomorrow at 9 in the morning in the academy for our first mission." Hokage Tower. A few hours later Jiraya was sitting at his desk, as usual. In front of Jiraya were the Jonin senseis of the 4 new genin teams, ready to give their reports, as well as Irika. "Tactical squad has my approval. While we still have some stuff to polish, especially regarding some of their personal priorities, I have faith that they will even surpass all their predecessors," Asuma proudly informed. Shizun was the next one to talk. "Medical squad also has my approval. All of them know their roles and they slipped into them perfectly. Maybe the teamwork could use some improvement, but in the future they'll be an invaluable asset. Animal squad passed the test, though barely," Kakashi mentioned. "They do have a lot of potential, but they still need a lot of work. Assault squad has my approval as well. They both have talent and barely need any incentive to work as a team. I just can't wait to see them in action," Kurenai said. Jiraiya smiled, clearly pleased, and turned at Irika. "What about that?" For the first time in Konoha's history, the true genin test has a 100% approval rate, as opposed to past 33%. The results speak for themselves. "Your educational reform was truly brilliant, Hokage-sama," Irika replied. "And it's thanks to you and your fellow teachers, for the great job you did preparing those kids for the future. Oh boy, I can't wait for the Chunin exams to begin. That will be in 3 months. Do you think they will be ready by then?" Irika inquired. "While their abilities are impressive, there's no way they can get enough experience in such little time. Have a little faith in them, Irika. The results may surprise you. Now, if there's nothing left to discuss, you're dismissed." After the 4 Jonin and the single Chunin left the office, a pair of ANBU wearing masks of an owl and a tiger brought yet another Jonin, one Jiraya last had seen 4 years ago. Well, Jiraya was looking at a file on his hand. So, Zabuza. According to this report, except for getting a couple of fights during your fist year, your behavior has been mostly excellent. Zabuza chuckled. Glad to know that. Repressing my killing instinct wasn't an easy task, you know. Now that Haku successfully passed all the tests and became a Konoha ninja, you're to do the same if you want to start to pay your debt with Konoha. Jiraiya snapped his fingers, and one of the ANBU handed Zabuza a Konoha forehead protector and a flak jacket. While not mandatory, it will be mostly appreciated if you wore at least part of our official uniform. Reluctantly, Zabuza tied the headband around his forehead and put on the flak jacket. Oh, and I believe this is yours. Jiraiya then tossed Zabuza a sealing scroll. Unsealing the scroll, Zabuza's eyes widened in surprise when he saw his trusty executioner blade back in his hands. You kept it all these years? I thought that you would have given it to somebody else, or sell it to other villages. Konoha doesn't have much of a sword-fighting tradition. It will be better in your hands. Now, are you ready to start working your ass off for the village? Sure. But first answer me something. Jiraiya listened to Zabuza intently. Aren't you worried that once I get out of this village, I never return? Jiraiya smirked in satisfaction. He was dying for Zabuza to make that question. Yes. It would be extremely imprudent on my part to letting you out of the village without some kind of leash, right? That's why, before taking you out of prison, my ANBU put you to sleep, and I carved a special seal in your chest. I can activate said seal to give you a heart attack. Zabuza raised a non-existent eyebrow, and smirked under his mask. Right. And you expect me to believe that? If that's the case, then you won't mind if I do this. Jiraiya made a hand seal, and all of a sudden, Zabuza fell on his knees, his hand instinctively clutching his chest. He felt as if an invisible hand was crushing his heart to pulp. Even if the effect was short-lived, the consequences weren't. As you can see, I can kill you whenever I want, with a mere hand gesture, from a 15-kilometer radius. This seal is designed so it only reacts to my chakra, meaning that I'm the only one who can activate or remove it. Well, guess that you could remove it if you find a seal master of my caliber or greater, but good luck with that. The seal is also linked to a special map which pinpoints your approximate location. As you can see, you can't escape from my grasp. I will only remove that seal once you complete your probation. Now, are you ready for your first mission? Panting heavily, Zabuza slowly got back on his feet, with the help of the ANBU. I guess so, good. Here it goes. Jiraiya tossed Zabuza another scroll. The Kiri swordsman unfurled the scroll and read it. His face morphed into a mask of incredulity. A C-rank mission? Is this some kind of joke? Jiraiya frowned at Zabuza. If it was a joke, you'll be rolling on the floor, laughing, because besides being a talented writer, magnificent charmer and a kick-ass ninja, I also happen to be gifted comedian. This is a test. You've been 4 years in prison, and I must check that your abilities didn't get dull. I was in jail because you sent me there. Details. Now, Owl, bring in the client. Yes, Hokage-sama, the ANBU said before leaving. A minute later, he returned with the aforementioned client. A gray-haired, glasses-wearing middle-aged man. He wore a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pants, and a pair of sandals. He also carried a towel around his neck and wore a pointed hat on his head. There was a bottle of sake on his hand. Zabuza, this is Tsunade-san, master builder of renown. Your mission will be to escort him to his homeland, the land of waves, and protect him until he finishes the construction of the bridge he and his men are working on. I doubt this guy could even build a toy bridge, Zabuza skeptically mentioned as he eyed the visibly inebriated man. Jiraiya ignored Zabuza's remark. Tazuna-san, this is Zabuza, one of our more recent recruits. You'll be safe as long you're close to him. The drunk bridge builder scanned Zabuza with his reddened eyes, his mouth agape. He couldn't decide if he was more afraid of his alleged escort or the powerful man that was after his head. Well, guess that the Hokage wasn't lying when he promised me some muscle boy. You're scary, Tazuna slurred as he eyed Zabuza, his words being coated in terror. Thanks, Zabuza replied, unaware that Tazuna's words weren't a compliment. Now, you should better get going. Good luck on your first mission, Zabuza, Jiraya said, waving Zabuza goodbye. Zabuza snarled before leaving, and dragged a very scared Tazuna with him. Placed on one of the shelves among a couple books, a vase, photographs and other ornaments, there were 2 pictures that decorated the living room of the Senju residence. Both of them were pictures of a group of 4 people, consisting on an adult and 3 children. The first one was a picture of Naruto, Hinata, Haku and Kurenai. Hinata was in the middle, with Naruto at her right and Haku at her left, and Kurenai behind all of them. Everybody was smiling. Naruto had a foxy grin while he gave the camera a thumbs up. The others' smiles were more subdued, but they still radiated happiness nevertheless. The second one was a picture of Sakura, Karen, Sasuke, and Shizun. Sasuke was in the middle, with Sakura at his left and Karen at his right, both forcefully hooking their arms around his, as well as pulling the boy to their respective side. Behind them was Shizun, with either hand on both Sakura and Karen's shoulder. The 3 girls were warmly smiling at the camera, while Sasuke had a sour expression, as if saying, "Kill me." It was tradition for the newly formed teams to take a picture of the first day they're formed and be given as a memento for both students and sensei. Tsunade spent quite some time looking at those 2 pictures after waking up. The one with Naruto reminded her of her old picture of Team Sarutobi, which was in black and white due to the technology of the time. The one with Shizun made her regret not taking on a genin team. Jiraya often mentioned that training a genin team was an amazing experience. Sure, she had trained Shizun, but the young woman's upbringing was everything but normal. "Mom? Breakfast is ready," Kaida shouted from the kitchen. "Coming." As expected, everybody except Jiraya, who had already left about an hour ago, was sitting at the table, eagerly eating breakfast before getting ready for the day. Tsunade sat her usual seat, where a couple of slices of toast with strawberry jelly were placed on a plate, and an apple close to it. Shizun was eating a bowl brown rice, while the kids were eating cereal. "So, today is your first day as a real ninja, and as a Jonin sensei," Tsunade commented after taking a bite from her toast, while looking at both Naruto and Shizun. "How do you feel?" "I can't wait to get my first mission. Dad told me that he had something already prepared that befits my skills." Naruto cheered. Tsunade and Shizun exchanged a look. There was a glint of pity on the young medic Nin's eyes, while Tsunade's gleamed with almost sadistic joy. They didn't trade words, but they understood each other perfectly. "I think I should tell him, no way. Let him find it by himself, just like everybody else." Well, Naruto emptied his bowl, brought it to the sink and quickly cleaned it. "I'm going to meet with my team for my first mission. Be sure to tell us how it went," Tsunade said as he waved him goodbye. "Boy, this sucks," Kaida protested as she crossed her arms. "Naruto Nizan goes to do missions, while we still have to go to the academy. Trust me, Kaida-chan, if I were you, I wouldn't be jealous of Naruto in the slightest," Shizun replied as she finished her meal. She also brought her bowl to the sink. "I better get going too, I would hate to keep my team waiting. It's going to be bad enough when they find out what kind of missions they are going to do." After waving Shizun goodbye, Hagane looked at her mother, puzzled. "Mom, what's wrong with the missions Naruto Nizan and Shizun Nichan's team are going to do?" the white-haired kid asked. Tsunade almost chortled. "Kid, a better question would be what's not wrong with those missions." After meeting with his team on Training Ground 8, Team Kurenai walked towards the academy, where the mission assignment desk was. The three genin were rather excited to finally start taking missions, though Naruto was the one who showed it the most, and cheerfully discussed about them what their first assignment would be. Kurenai didn't say anything, but she simply looked intently at them with a small amused smile. Upon reaching their destination, they were greeted by Jiraya, sitting on a desk flanked by the former Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, and their former academy teacher, Irika Yumino. Sitting on nearby desks were people none of the genin were able to identify. The assault squad is here and ready to kick ass, Naruto loudly announced while he and his team entered the room. Come on Dad, give us something worth of our awesomeness. Jiraiya chuckled. You know, Naruto, the part one like the most about you is your enthusiasm. That will take you far, Jiraiya replied, smiling at him. For some reason, there was something about said smile that made the Jinchuriki feel uneasy. He then tossed a scroll at Kurenai. All the details of the mission are there. I trust you will be able to complete it within the day. Come back to collect your payment once you're done. Haku raised an eyebrow. Within the day? It must be an extremely easy and simple mission if it can be completed in such a short amount of time. Naruto's grin didn't falter. Or maybe it's that Dad knows that our team is so great that we will do much faster than other teams. So, Kurenai-sensei, Hinata chimed in. What is our mission about? An hour later Naruto, Hinata, and Haku were painting the fence of a house. Neither of them looked particularly happy. You know, I wasn't expecting that somebody would hire a whole ninja team for such menial task, Haku commented as he soaked his brush in white paint. Why yeah, me too. I wasn't expecting to do the big missions on the first day, but this is a little, Hinata agreed. Unlike her students, Kurenai wasn't painting, but merely watching them. Come on, don't complain. I had to do this kind of missions when I was a genin. So it's like a rite of passage? But my point still stands. Why does somebody would hire a ninja for doing this instead of a civilian worker? Haku asked. If you want to know so badly, ask the client. People hire ninja for just about any task. Said tasks are ranked based on their danger and difficulty. You're genin fresh out of the academy, so naturally you're going to get the easiest, most simple and least dangerous missions, at least until you become more experienced, Kurenai explained. But why does the Hokage accepts these kind of missions? I believe it's a waste of our talents and our formation, Haku replied. Yes. Besides, we can't improve as ninja by doing these kind of tasks, Hinata added. These missions also have the purposes of building teamwork, building bonds with people of the village, as well as making the civilians know that we're here to serve and protect them. Kurenai then glanced at Naruto, who despite his loud protest over the nature of the mission, remained uncharacteristically silent once they got to work. Kurenai decided to push her luck. You know Naruto, I was expecting you to complain non-stop about doing this, yet you haven't opened your mouth once. While I must say that your change of attitude pleases me, the fact that it happened so sudden worries me a little. It's okay. This may be a waste of our skills, but it's so simple it actually gives me time to think, Naruto replied. Kurenai sighed in relief and smiled. That's a good thing. And what are you thinking right now, may I ask? My revenge on Dad for giving us this shitty mission. It's going to be the stuff of legends. Do you think that burning down the Hokage Tower would be too much? Everybody stopped what they were doing and stared at Naruto, eyes wide in shock and mouth agape. Okay, I get it, too much. I'll tone it down. Hokage's office, a few days later once again, Jiraiya and Zabuza were face to face against each other. The Hokage noticed that Zabuza was carrying a large bag that he didn't have the moment he left. Jiraiya broke the silence with a single word. Report. So far, the mission went without incident, though the information provided by the client was faulty, Zabuza stated. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow, and leaned forwards. Please elaborate. You see, that Tsunade was in the sights of a very powerful man. Some shipping tycoon named Gato, or something, Zabuza began. Who wanted him dead because the bridge threatened his business in some way, and the bastard keeps sending thugs to kill us. At first I was happy that I had something to kill, but even that grew old, fast. Those guys weren't even ninja. But you say there weren't incidents. No, of course not. There was nothing I couldn't handle. In fact, when the construction of the bridge was almost done, that ugly midget shows up with an army of more thugs in a pathetic attempt to threaten me. They're now sleeping with the fishes. Good to see that you completed your first mission without any trouble, then. Of course I did. Maybe the mission would have had more excitement if Gato hired an actual ninja instead of those thugs. I mean, the guy was loaded, and could afford it. Let me tell you something. Had Gato hired me, that bridge builder would have been dead before he even set a foot on his little country. I'm sure of it. By the way, what is that bag you're carrying? Jiraya asked, since he grew tired of waiting for Zabuza to mention it himself. This? Oh, a little compensation I decided to take for the troubles. After I killed Gato, I went to his house and emptied his vault. Zabuza tossed the bag at Jiraya, who opened it, and saw lots of rolls of money. I hope this helps to accelerate my probation. When I said that you had a debt with Konoha, I didn't mean in the monetary sense, but yeah, this will help. Jiraya pushed the bag aside. Though I'm having a hard time believing that this is all Gato had. Because it's not. That's nothing but a fraction of all the money the short bastard had, Zabuza confirmed. Then where is the rest of the money? The Sannin asked. I lost it on my way back, Zabuza replied matter-of-factly. Jiraya raised an eyebrow. You lost it, he deadpanned. Zabuza simply nodded. You certainly have some guts lying so boldly to my face. Zabuza smirked under his mask. I'm not lying. And if you think I am, then you should prove it before flinging unfounded accusations. You know Konoha has an entire clan specialized in mind-reading jutsu, right? Jiraya asked. Though I think I will let it slide this time, since I have more pressing matters than caring for money that I never had to begin with, Jiraya concluded. After all, Zabuza had brought some of Gato's money to the village, while he could have hogged all of it for himself and keep it under wraps. You're dismissed. I'll call you in a few days for your next assignment. I'll be looking forward my next mission, Hokage-sama, Zabuza replied, making a slight bow. Though I hope I get something more fitting of my talents rather than a mere escort mission. The next days didn't change much. The missions Team Kurenai would get usually involved carrying errands for some elderly people, chase down vermin and other pests, babysit children and gardening, among many others. As expected, Naruto's team wasn't the only team to take this kind of missions, the other 3 teams had to endure them as well. It was noted that Kakashi's animal team managed to complete a mission literally a minute after they got it. The mission was to retrieve Tora, the Fire Lord's wife's cat, who would always try to escape at the first opportunity from her owner's suffocating embraces. Using the summoning jutsu, Tamaki summoned Tora in front of her. Whenever the cat escaped, Tamaki would be requested to summon her again. After finishing their daily training routine, Shizune dismissed her students and headed for her next appointment, a date with Shisui Uchiha at Yakiniku-Q. After ordering some food and drinks, Shisui felt like starting up a conversation. So, how is your team doing, Shizune-sensei? The Uchiha asked in a playfully mocking tone. As expected, when you start with the D-rank missions. They complain that this isn't what they had been training for, the medic Nin answered. Shisui leaned forwards. Does Sasuke give you some trouble? He usually complains about these missions being a waste of his talents, but at least he carries them out. I was expecting that Sasuke would react that way, but it's good that he knows his place. We all had to go through that hell once, and now it's his turn to suffer, the one-eyed Uchiha said as he ate a piece of bread. The medic Nin shifted uncomfortably on her seat. Actually, I never did a D-rank mission in my life. Shisui almost choked on his food. You what? How? It's because you were Tsunade's apprentice? Yeah, it has to be that. Boy, that's some big-ass favoritism right there. Hey, calm down. Shizune held her hands up in defense. The reason for that it's that I left Konoha with Tsunade-sama shortly after I graduated the academy. But trust me, I had to do stuff just as bad, sometimes even worse, than the D-ranks genin do nowadays. I doubt they were worse than chasing that goddamned cat around. Shizune leaned forwards, and narrowed her eyes at Shursui. One day, you will go drinking with Tsunade-sama. But you won't drink, oh, no. You merely will listen her ramble for 2 hours, then try to convince her to leave when she had too much, then drag her to her room and get her in her bed. And then you will eat your words. Shursui smirked. Maybe. But for the time being, this steak is the only thing I'm going to eat, the one-eyed Uchiha said as he started to cut the steak. By the way, Sasuke met your little siblings today. He told me something about an incident. Care to elaborate? Ah, yes, our latest D-rank mission, babysitting the Hokage's kids. You see, flashback Shizune had decided to leave her genin alone on the house with Hagane and Kaida while she ran some errands of her own. When she returned home, she was greeted by Sasuke lazily sitting on the couch, while Hagane was also sitting a couch, completely immobile. Hi, I'm back. Shizune greeted upon entering the house. I trust there wasn't any incidents while I was outside? No. Everything has been fine here, the Uchiha replied. Shizune then looked at Hagane, who was extremely still. Hagane-kun? What are you doing? I'm playing a game that Sasuke taught me, the kid happily said, careful not to move. And what is that game? A challenge to see how long can I stay completely silent and immobile. I've been like this for 2 hours. Though I'm not silent anymore. But that doesn't count because you asked me something. Shizune exasperatedly stared at the Uchiha. Sasuke, what? He likes that game, Sasuke replied. By the way, where are the girls? In the backyard. Kaida wanted somebody to spar with her, and Sakura and Karen volunteered. And why didn't you spar with Kaida-chan too? I thought you liked spars. I do, but against people I can learn something from, just like you, Shursui or my brother, not against some 8-year-old girl. Shizune walked towards the backyard, and she heard the voices of Sakura, Karen and Kaida. That was very good, Kaida-chan, a voice that sounded like Karen said. If you liked that, wait till you see this. Would release, Nativity of a World of Trees. Ah, how cute, she's emulating the first what the hell. Sakura screeched as a tremor shook the house. Shizune froze for a second, and rushed to the backyard, followed by Sasuke and Hagane. When they arrived, they saw that Karen and Sakura were suspended in the air with thick wooden vines wrapped around them. The 2 medic nin apprentices looked between terrified and angry. Kaida smiled happily at them. Kaida-chan. What did we told you about using wood release in front of people who aren't family? Shizune sternly asked, frowning at the little girl. But I wanted to show Sakura and Karen my power. Still, you broke a rule. And you put my genin in danger. You know you still can't control your wood release yet. Oh come on, I did control it this time. This time? Sakura and Karen said in unison, shocked. Shizune's scowl deepened. As guilt started to creep its way through her insides, Kaida's smile disappeared, and lowered her head in shame. I'm sorry, Shizune-nichan, I won't do it again. But please don't tell Mom. I demand this mission to be reclassified into an A rank, an angry Sakura shouted. Seconded. Karen added. End flashback. Now that Sasuke knows that there's a wood release user in the town, he's begging me to let him fight her, Shizune said while giggling a little. But there's no way that's going to happen. At least not until she grows up. I wouldn't be so sure. Sasuke can be pretty stubborn, Shursui commented, leaning back. Oh, and by the way, don't tell anybody about Kaida's powers, okay? If word of her abilities get out the Hyuga affair would be a joke compared what other villages would do in order to kidnap her. Shursui finished her sentence. You don't have to worry about that, my lips are sealed. Good that I can count on you. That's a given. By the way, what about her brother, Hagane? Does he have that power too? No. But Hagane has an uncanny affinity for natural energy, and he somehow can temporarily increase the power and chakra of those close to him. Shursui let out a whistle. That may not be would release, but it's impressive nonetheless. The genes of Tsunade-sama and Jiraya-sama are sure something if they can produce those little monsters. Shizun punched him in the arm. Don't call my little siblings monsters. Shursui merely laughed. Oh come on, Shizun-chan, I mean monsters in a good way. By the way, between them, and Naruto having the Kyubi-yuri the only one in that house that's actually normal. No offense. Shizun shoot him an apathetic look. Shursui, after you spend a week living in that house, you'll realize that somebody has to be normal. To celebrate the completion of their 10th D-rank mission, Kurenai decided to treat her team to dinner at Shushuya, one of her favorite restaurants. Naruto suggested going to Ikaraku's, but the red-eyed Jonin shot down the idea, since Naruto dragged them to that place quite often, and she wanted to go somewhere different. Despite her best intentions, it doesn't seem that her genin were much in the mood for celebrating anything. Probably because they thought that doing 10 D-rank missions wasn't something that deserved a celebration. So, Kurenai-sensei, how long until we get to do real missions? Naruto asked, tapping his fingers on the table. These are real missions, Naruto, Kurenai pointedly replied. All missions are important, since they generate income for the village. Don't assume that these missions are below you. But they are. Naruto protested, throwing his hands in the air. These missions could be done by my little siblings, who are freaking 8 and they still go to the academy. These missions are no different from the chores I do at home. I must agree with Naruto-kun, Kurenai-sensei, Haku interceded, showing far more restraint in his frustration than his blonde friend. Zabuza-sama said that while we're doing these menial tasks, genin in Kirigakure are committing assassinations. Genin in Kirigakure are also hired to hunt down people with bloodline limits like you, Kurenai harshly replied. Haku scowled. She knew that that was a cheap shot, but she believed it was a necessary one. Yeah, why can't we assassinate somebody? Naruto pleaded. No. Come on. No. Only a little. No. How can you assassinate somebody, just a little? Hinata asked to no one in particular. Come on. We're the assault squad, not the fence painter squad or the dog walker squad. Kurenai sighed, as she massaged her temples. She had been trying her best to try to soothe the growing frustration within her team, but she knew that this could only get worse with time if she didn't do something. Okay, let's do this. For tomorrow, I will ask for a C-rank mission, okay? The raven-haired Kunoichi asked. A huge smile appeared on Naruto's face. Really? Yes. At first I wasn't sure, but maybe you're ready to take a slightly more difficult missions. But this doesn't mean that you won't get to do more D-rank missions once we finish this one, Kurenai sternly added. It's okay. Doing D-rank missions won't be so bad with some C-ranks in between, Haku mentioned. I will have to judge your performance first before I request more C-ranks. But then again, I'm sure that you won't disappoint. The next morning Team Kurenai was once again at the mission assignment desk. Jiraya had already prepared several missions for them to choose. Ah, glad to see you came here back for more, Jiraya said with an unnerving grin. Naruto would swear he was enjoying his suffering. I have a few more D-ranks with your name on it. Naruto shot his adoptive father a murderous glare, but Kurenai stepped in before the blonde could do or say something stupid. Actually, I believe my team is ready to do a C-rank mission, Hokage-sama. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. You think so? It's not even been a month since they graduated. I believe their skills are enough to handle any C-rank mission, Hokage-sama. It's not their skills I'm worried about. Maybe they should polish their teamwork a bit more before venturing out of the village. Their teamwork is mostly excellent, Hokage-sama. My 3 students get along rather well, and have no trouble acting as a single unit when the situation requires it. I see. Jiraya started to dig through a pile of scrolls. If your evaluation of their abilities is as you say, then this shouldn't be much of a problem. Jiraya then tossed a scroll at Kurenai. While she read it, he continued talking. We've recently received a request to protect a village in the land of the rice fields that has been repeatedly attacked by bandits. Besides protecting the village, your job will also be catch those bandits and turn them in to the local authorities. Alright. Finally something worth my skills. Naruto pumped a fist in the air. Now, don't get overconfident. Bandits might not be much of a threat to ninja, but they can still present some danger if we're careless, Kurenai chided Naruto. Okay, go and pack what you think will be necessary for the mission. We will meet at the village's northern gates in an hour. Yes, Kurenai-sensei, the 3 genin said in unison before the whole team left. Jiraiya leaned back on his chair, and let out a defeated sigh. Something that was obviously not missed by his main counselor and assistant. Something wrong, Jiraiya? Sarutobi was one of the few people who wouldn't address Jiraiya as a Hokage. Not out of lack of respect, but familiarity and the fact that he would always see the Toad Sage as his student. I knew that this day would come, Booty wasn't expecting it to be so soon, the Sannin replied. Sarutobi chuckled. Ah, yes. I remembered the first time Asuma had his first mission outside the village. I know that you're worried, and it would be unnatural if you weren't. It's not just that. I wouldn't be that worried if Naruto was a normal child. But Naruto has a huge bullseye painted on his back. If Tsunade's words are to be believed, somebody encouraged a clan to rebel against us just to create an opportunity to kidnap Naruto. And now we'll be outside the village's protection, with only his sensei and teammates to watch his back. You can't protect that kid forever, Jiraiya. If I remember correctly, it was you who told me that we should have faith in the next generation. Now I tell you that you should have faith in that Naruto will come back home safe and sound. I can't think in anything to refute that. And I hate it more than anything, Jiraiya said, gritting his teeth a little. Man, Tsunade is going to kill me when she finds out. Don't underestimate Tsunade like that. I'm sure that she knew that this was going to happen sooner or later the moment Naruto became a ninja. Still, that woman can be quite emotional at times, Jiraiya let out another exhausted sigh. Boy, you have no idea how thankful I am for the fact that we will host the next Chunin exam. Konoha Hospital. Tsunade was in her office doing some paperwork, when somebody knocked the door. She was a bit surprised, given that she had no appointments until at least an hour. Come in. Much to her surprise, Naruto entered the office. Naruto. What are you doing here? The slug princess asked. Not that I don't like seeing you, Beauty not sick, aren't you? Which would have been a reason to worry more than usual, since Naruto never got sick. What? Oh no, not that. Naruto replied, chuckling. Dad finally gave my team a worthy mission. We will be going to the land of the rice fields to protect some villagers from bandits. Kurenai-sensei said that we will be around a week or so outside. So I came here to tell you goodbye. Though a see you later would fit better since I'm not going to be out for so long, hee. Tsunade paled upon hearing Naruto's words. How did Jiraiya give Naruto a C-rank mission so soon? She thought that he would wait at least a month before doing that. He probably gave up upon Naruto's insistence. The boy had been begging him day and night to stop giving him D-rank missions. But then again, Jiraiya wouldn't have complied if Naruto's Jonin-sensei wouldn't think he was ready for the task. She had to remind herself not to be so overprotective. Really? That sounds great, Tsunade said, making an effort to smile. But be careful when you're out there, okay? Remember that there are people who are still after you. Don't worry, Mom, I'll be fine. Besides, I can't die yet, not before I'm the Hokage. Tsunade smiled, this time genuinely. She got up from her chair, and hugged her adoptive son. I know you will. I'm sure you'll make me and your dad proud. Breaking the hug, Naruto just smiled at her, and left. Fortunately, the land of the rice fields was close to the land of fire and Konohagakure, and since they didn't have to escort any civilians, they could go at a much faster pace. Kurenai had predicted that they would arrive at the town in question around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. However, shortly before they crossed the border between the land of fire and their destination, the Genjutsu mistress decided to make a stop for lunch and bring her students to visit a place of utmost historical and cultural importance. Welcome to the Valley of the End, she said, as she motioned at 2 huge statues, looking at each other while making a hand seal, separated by a waterfall. The valley was rather unremarkable by itself. If you removed the statues, there was nothing but a barren gray land crossed by a small river. Though trees and other forms of plant life could be seen on its surroundings. For some reason, there was something about the valley that made it impossible for plants to grow on it. I'm sure that you remember this place from the history lessons at the academy, but I thought it would be nice if you saw it with your own eyes, given that it's on our way to our destination. Many people referred to the valley as the place where Hashirama and Madara had their final duel, but that would be false. A more accurate description would be a byproduct of Hashirama and Madara's final duel. The fact that 2 people could shape the land in such way was a concept a lot of people, especially non-ninjas, had a hard time grasping. Weird. It's like I have already been here before, Naruto commented, as his eyes were fixed on the 2 statues. How is that, Naruto? Naruto was about to open his mouth, but something stopped him. A feeling. Coming from his gut. A mix of anger, frustration and grief. But for some reason, he felt like those feelings weren't exactly his, but somebody else's. Somebody he shared his body with. I believe it was him who was here. Kurenai opened her eyes wide in shock, knowing full well what, or whom, Naruto was talking about. The possibility of aborting the mission crossed the Jonin's mind. And how do you know that, Naruto? Does he talk to you? The Jonin asked, biting her lip, as a tinge of worry crossed her body. No. It's like I could feel how he feels. As if our feeling sychswenzi synchronize, Hinata mentioned. Synchronize, yeah, that, thank you. Does this happen often? Kurenai asked again. Actually, no. This is the first time I feel something like this. I believe that this place causes him distress, for some reason, Naruto explained. Kurenai pondered his words. Not wanting to make any more unnecessary risks, she urged everybody to finish their meals, and continue their trip. The last thing she wanted was to make something to influence the Kyuubi. By the way, Naruto, if you feel something unusual and think it may be due to your tenant, tell me, okay? Yeah, don't worry, sensei. Not an hour after leaving the Valley of the End, Kurenai's assault team arrived at their destination, Sawa Town. It was a farmer community surrounded by rice fields, just like the majority of towns of the country, hence its name. Most of the villagers wore short-sleeved linen shirts and short pants, ideal to work on rice fields, and coolie hats, used as protection against the sun and rain while working. They guessed that the town probably had less than 500 inhabitants. The more they studied the villagers, the more they realized about something odd. Most of them were either children, or people older than 40. There were no teenagers or people in their 20s/30s. Naturally, the presence of ninjas didn't went unnoticed among the farmers. Some were happy to see that the ninja they had requested had finally arrived, but others murmured about the young age of 3/4 of the group, and wondered how they were going to protect them. While most villagers didn't dare to approach the foreigners, there was somebody who did, a short man in his early 30s, with short black hair and a soul patch, who wore the same clothes as the rest of his peers. "Welcome to Sawa Town, foreign ninjas," the man greeted as he removed his hat and made a bow. "Are you the Konoha ninjas that we requested to protect our home?" "Indeed we are. My name is Kurenai Yuhi. These are my students, Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga and Haku Yuki." The Jonin motioned to her genin as she introduced them. "Good to see that you're finally here. My name is Ryo Yuhara, mayor of Sawa Town. Please come to my house, and we will discuss the matter at hand there." Kurenai and her 3 genin were sat around a table on the kitchen in Ryo's house. A pregnant woman they presumed was Ryo's wife, served them some tea. "Thank you, Emi," the man said to his wife, who nodded in return. "I'll be in the garden if you need me," the woman replied before leaving. "Ryo-san, you said that your village has been attacked multiple times, and that's the reason for us to be here. Before another attack happens, we're going to need as much information as possible," the Jonin said before taking a sip from her tea. "Sure, ask what you want, and I'll try to be of as much help as possible," the mayor replied. "For starters, their numbers. How many of them there are?" "It varies from time to time, usually between 15 and 30. All armed with all kinds of weapons, such as swords, axes, spears." Ryo decided to elaborate before Kurenai asked him again. "Do any of them show aptitude for ninjutsu?" Kurenai asked once again. "I believe not. I mean, they don't look like ninjas. Ninja usually wear some sort of badge that identifies their village of origin, just like your headbands." Ryo pointed at Kurenai's forehead protector. "Not necessarily. There are still quite a few independent clans out there not affiliated to any village. These clans are the last remnants of the Warring States period. Most people nowadays hire ninjas hailing from villages, leaving these clans with nothing but the poorest customers. I wouldn't be surprised if out desperation, one of these clans turned into pillagers just to survive. Still, they didn't look nor act like ninjas to me, nor use that fancy magic ninjas are famous for." "Ninjutsu," Kurenai sharply corrected. "Magic is what street performers do." "Oh, right, sorry. May I ask something?" It was Haku who spoke this time. Both Ryo and Kurenai nodded. "I saw that most people in this town are either children or middle-aged. Where are the people of Kurenai-sensei's age?" Ryo's mood became somber, his eyes reflected a deep sadness. "You see, most of the time those bandits come here looking for food or money. But sometimes, when they feel we don't have enough to satisfy their greed, they usually take some of our peers with them. Usually those older than 18 but younger than 35. Do you know what they do with them?" Kurenai asked. "I don't know, nor want to think about it," Ryo shuddered in disgust. "At first we thought they did it to increase their numbers, but we never see again the people they take with them. Haven't you tried to defend yourselves?" Naruto asked. Ryo smiled sadly at the blonde. "Kid, this is a farming town. None of us know to fight, nor have the disposition to. Our attackers are well armed and organized, and while we outnumber them, nobody wants to die fighting them." "What about the lord of these lands?" Hinata chimed in. "Shouldn't he make sure that such attacks doesn't happen?" "Maybe he should, but for some reason he doesn't. These lands had always been peaceful. We always had our share of criminals like everybody else, but our lord's soldiers and guards usually dealt with them. But during the past years, the bandit attacks have multiplied drastically, not only in our town, but in other towns as well. Many people traveled to the capital to ask our lord for help, but they never returned. We think that they didn't even make it to the capital before falling prey to some ambush. This is unacceptable." Kurenai was trying her best to hold her anger. "Is a ruler's duty to keep his people safe. Once we deal with this problem, we will travel to the capital and ask what's going on." Ryo's face lit up. "You'll do that?" "Because that would be wonderful. Though that wasn't included in the mission, that's what differentiates ninjas from mere mercenaries. We may charge for our services, but we do work to make the world a little better. I'm glad my brother-in-law suggested the idea of hiring some ninjas from the Land of Fire, given that there is no ninja village in our country, the mayor said, smiling. By the way, and I don't mean to disrespect any of you, but while you seem like a strong fighter, your students can't be older than 13. Are you sure they will be able to fight? A reasonable doubt, but yes. Don't let their age fool you. These 3 may be children, but they have been trained and are ninjas in their own right. Once the bandits attack, you will see their abilities in action. Speaking of which, do you know when the bandits attack? Haku asked. Or do they attack at random? No, I realized that they attack sometime around the first week of each month, Ryo answered. There was a moment of silence while Ryo's words sunk in, and realized which day it was. Which means that they will attack sometime this week, Kurenai stated. Yes. That's why it's a good thing that you arrived here before the attack could happen, Ryo said. Fortunately, given the kind of threat we're dealing with, we won't need any time to make preparations such as traps. Now we better get some rest. Do you know any inn, or a place where we can stay while we're here? Yes, Baiko's Inn. It's our best inn by virtue of being our only one, the mayor chuckled. Baiko, the owner of the inn, was graceful enough to not charge anything to them for staying there, given that they were there to save the town, though he did charge them for the food, claiming that his generosity couldn't get in the way of feeding his family. The fact that they were his first customers in quite some time helped. The inn was rather small. It was a 2-story building, the lower floor being something of a mix between a tavern and a dining room, and the upper floor being the bedrooms. Naruto shared a bedroom with Haku, while Hinata shared a bedroom with Kurenai. The next morning, Team Kurenai was finishing their breakfast in the lower room, when the mayor, extremely agitated, burst in. Kurenai-san. They're here. Ryo shouted while barging in. The 4 ninjas immediately tensed up. All right. Keep calm and try to get people out of the way, we'll be there in a couple minutes, Kurenai calmly instructed. She then turned at her students. These guys may not be ninjas, but still be careful, this will be your first real fight. Check you have your equipment with you before going. I believe you can handle this, but I will intervene if things get ugly, understood? Yes, Kurenai-sensei, the 3 of them said in unison. Yes, I think this one is perfect, we will take her. No. Not my daughter, you monsters. Shut up, you old hag. Or else tonight you'll be sleeping 2 meters underground. The 4 ninjas rushed towards the group of bandits. Their description matched Ryo's. Some of them were forcefully dragging people from their homes, ignoring the pleas of the distressed families. Others were looting stores, taking either goods or money. The fact that they weren't even bothering to hide their faces and the way they acted, they clearly believed that they owned that town. However, soon they would find out how wrong they were. Hey, you assholes! Naruto yelled once he was near enough to be heard. Stop what you're doing, or else. Hey, look at that, one of the bandits, a large, broad-shouldered bald man, looked at Naruto. A small kid with a very big mouth. Maybe we should teach you what happens to cheeky kids who don't respect their elders, a slim, brown-haired man said, as he rubbed the blade of his sword. And who the hell do you think you are, another bandit, this time of the few women, asked. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage of Konoha, and these are my teammates Hinata and Haku. And if you don't leave these people alone, we're going to kick your asses. There was a moment of silence as the band of thugs processed Naruto's words. The silence was broken by a giggle, which turned into laughter, which was followed by an uproar laughter from the entire group of pillagers. Naruto gritted his teeth in anger. Naruto, Kurenai called him. Naruto turned at her. She smirked. Are you going to let them laugh at you? Naruto smirked back. You can bet I'm not. He turned to the bandits again and made a hand seal. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen Narutos appeared from clouds of smoke, and the bandits suddenly stopped laughing. Charge! The orange-clad army charged forward and engaged the whole band of bandits. Their shock was so big that some of them didn't even react to the attack. Defend yourselves, you idiots. That brat is a ninja. Hinata-san, I think we shouldn't let Naruto have all the fun for himself, right? Haku asked, smiling at the Hyuga. Alright. Let's go help him. Hinata answered as she activated her Byakugan. After the bandits recovered from the shock, they started fighting back and managed to destroy about half of Naruto's clones. However, they were so focused on fighting Naruto that they didn't notice Hinata landing near them. The Hyuga made several hand seals, and her hands were crackling with electricity. Lightning release, 8 trigrams 32 thunder strikes. 2 strikes. Hinata's lightning-infused palm strikes immediately disabled a thug. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. Other 3 thugs fell before her. 16 strikes. 32 strikes. 5 more bandits were out of commission. Haku decided it was his turn to act as well. His hands flew through hand seals. Ice release, breath of winter. The ice ninja breathed deeply and released a huge cone of ice that covered in frost all who were touched by it. 2 of the bandits leaped into the air and tossed multiple kunai at the Konoha genin. However, Naruto had already saw them, and his hands were forming several hand seals. Wind release, cyclone vortex. Naruto trusted both his hands forward, forming a cone-shaped gale. This time he managed to make it bigger than the one he used against Kurenai. The wind vortex not only stopped the kunai mid-air, but also hit the thugs who had thrown them. Enough! The 3 genin turned around to see where the yell came from. At the top of one of the houses, there was one of the bandits, probably the only one still uninjured, with an arm around a little girl, and a kunai on her neck. Surrender now, or this girl dies, the bandit yelled, as he pressed the kunai against the girl's neck. Naruto laughed at him. I don't see any girl there, just a bag of flour. What? And much to the bandit's shock, where the girl should be, there was a bag of flour. He scanned the people in the ground, and saw the girl on Hinata's arms. Before he could even react, Haku appeared from behind, and knocked him out cold. The few bandits who were still on their feet wisely decided that those 3 kids were too much for them, and run for their lives, while Naruto, Hinata and Haku watched the scene proudly. Once they were out of sight, the villagers of Sawa town loudly cheered. Boy, that felt good. Now I'm even angrier at Dad for not giving me a mission like this earlier. Naruto said, with a wide grin. Maybe it wasn't an assassination, but this beats pulling out weeds or picking up litter any time, Haku added. Plus we helped somebody in need. Now these villagers won't be afraid of being attacked and robbed anymore, Hinata said as well. An hour later, after helping clean the mess the bandits have made before being kicked out of the town, Kurenai gathered her team. Now I'm going to go to the capital and request an audience with the lord of these lands. You've showed that mere bandits are no threat to you, so you 3 should be able to protect this town while I'm absent. I guess I should be back in less than 3 days, Kurenai explained. Don't worry, sensei, this town will be safe as long as we're here. Right, guys? Naruto asked. Haku and Hinata nodded. A couple hours later, at the bandits' secret hideout, the few bandits that managed to return were kneeling in front of some unseen figure. You usually don't have much trouble gathering supplies and test subjects. What happened this time? Did the villagers get fed up and decided to fight you? The man asked, chuckling. Worse than that. They hired ninjas to protect the town. They were just children, but we weren't able to land a hit on either of them, one of the bandits fearfully explained. I see. If that's the case, I'll have to send somebody else more qualified than you. And since you failed to gather fresh test subjects for Orochimaru-sama's experiments, I guess that you'll have to take their place. The bandits paled. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained. Stay safe.